Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. The Capitol Police and FBI have announced a joint investigation into the break-in of the home of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. An intruder was taken into custody this morning in San Francisco after attacking Pelosi's husband. The speaker was not home at the time. 82-year-old Paul Pelosi is expected to make a full recovery. Billionaire Elon Musk has finalized a deal to buy the social media site Twitter. NPR's Raquel Maria Dillon has more.
The billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX tweeted, "The bird has been freed," a reference to the company's logo. Musk fired CEO Parag Agrawal and the company's top lawyer and its chief financial officer. He also dismissed Vijay Gadde, who was in charge of public policy and safety. She had been attacked online for calling the shots on which accounts get suspended. Musk has not yet named anyone to take their places. On the platform, some users fretted about what will become of Twitter. Others called for the platform to reinstate accounts, like former President Donald Trump's, which was suspended after the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Raquel Maria Dillon, NPR News, San Francisco.
Senate candidates in Colorado will square off in a debate tonight. Colorado Public Radio's Caitlin Kim reports the race has gained attention as a possible pickup opportunity for the Republican Party, which is seeking to regain control of the Senate.
It's the last chance for Democratic incumbent Michael Bennet and GOP businessman Joe O'Dea to make their case to voters before Election Day. O'Dea has received national attention for breaking with former President Donald Trump and taking more moderate positions than those in his party on social issues like abortion and same-sex marriage. And the Republican has hammered Bennet on inflation and crime. He even took time off the campaign trail this week to visit the U.S.-Mexico border. Bennet, who is running for a third term, has focused on accomplishments he and Democrats have delivered to Coloradans, such as the infrastructure and bipartisan gun bills. Polls have consistently shown Bennet ahead in the race. For NPR News, I'm Caitlin Kim in Denver.
The United States and its Western allies continue to dismiss claims by Russia that Ukraine is preparing to use a so-called dirty bomb within its own borders. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield says Moscow's claims are completely baseless.
The United States does not have a biological weapons program. There are no Ukrainian biological weapons laboratories supported by the United States.
Russia has alleged that Kyiv has ordered two organizations to create a dirty bomb without giving any evidence. You're listening to NPR News in Washington.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro in studio today. And for those keeping tabs, we are just getting word that Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady and his wife, supermodel Gisele Bündchen, are officially filing for divorce today. Now, according to Secretary of State Bill Galvin, Massachusetts voters seem to be more concerned with the 4 ballot questions than the individual candidate races at this stage of the election season. Galvin says of the roughly 1.1 million mail-in ballots requested so far, about 157,000 have been returned, suggesting that the slowness of the numbers means voters are taking their time to carefully go over each of the ballot questions. Galvin says he's hoping for a strong turnout at the polls come November 8th. Meanwhile, if you are not yet registered to vote in the upcoming midterms, the clock is ticking big time. You have until this weekend to get it done. The deadline is tomorrow, October 29th, which is 10 days before Election Day. And if you are unsure if you're registered, you can check your voter registration status on the Secretary of State's website. Provincetown has received state funding to make an affordable housing development more accessible to downtown. The $400,000 grant from the MassWorks Infrastructure Program connect the planned Jerome Smith Road Affordable Housing Project to schools, shops, and restaurants. The 65-unit development is designed to provide affordable rental housing and amenities for Provincetown residents. The development will be comprised of 4 three-story buildings on about 2 acres. 50 degrees in Boston.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Raymond James, a firm focused on transforming lives, businesses, and communities through tailored wealth management, banking, and capital markets solutions. Learn more at RaymondJames.com.
I'm Henry Santoro. This is GBH News.
Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. You are listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live at the Boston Public Library as we do every Tuesday and every Friday. And we are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News.
Now, I think we should share with listeners we have a real problem. We obviously plotted out, as we do every day, all 3 hours of the debate of the show today with great care. But as soon as we heard Henry Santoro saying that if it's official that Gisele Bündchen and Tom Brady have filed for divorce, we've scrapped the whole show.
Scrapped the whole show.
So the
right.
first hour will be Brady, the high school years. Second, okay. So after 6 months of will he or won't he, billionaire CEO Elon Musk officially bought Twitter yesterday for a mere $44 billion, making him the owner of 5 multi-billion-dollar companies. He also renamed himself, this is fairly clever, on his Twitter page as Chief Twit. A lot of questions are still unanswered at this. I sort of laughed at that.
Me too.
Still unanswered. What's it going to do about content moderation? Obviously, the big one is Trump. Will he be back on? What we do know is that he's fired a bunch of executives, which, I mean, that's what happens when you buy a company. But one of the people he fired was the woman who made the final call in January of last year to ban the former president. We're opening the lines, the text lines and phone lines at 877-301-8970. How will this purchase affect your Twitter presence, if at all? Will it affect it at all, or you just don't care? And if it does, and you said, I'm done with Twitter, where exactly are you going to go? 877-301-8970 is our number. And again, that's for texting and calling, and can tweet us at BOS Public Radio. By the way,
Jim, you're leaving out the biggest question.
What is it?
Well, I think it's a question that you face right now.
What is it?
I mean, what are you going to do? You were about to buy a Tesla.
I've already put a deposit down.
You put a deposit down. Will you or will you not follow through with this purchase based on the guy that runs the company, who makes the car that you're going to be driving around with for many, many years?
You want a direct answer?
Yep.
I'll take the Fifth Amendment on that question. 877-301-8970. By the way, I'm generally troubled that Musk is taking over the company. I am doubly troubled by Trump's return. But let me say a big however. As much as Trump deserved to be banned from Facebook and Twitter, I don't think he can make a case that if the guy announces for the presidency that he can continue to ban a candidate, legitimate in that he has a chance of winning, candidate from the most important social network in the world, which is a real conundrum.
Well, back when they banned him, they said that they were banning him. That would be Twitter, of course, because they were talking about the risk of further incitement of violence. This was right after the January 6th insurrection.
He continues to incite violence by saying the election was stolen.
Well,
virtually every Truth Social he posts.
Well, I think they could make an argument that it wasn't quite as direct as standing there and say, let's go down to the Capitol with a bunch of people he knew were armed, ready to do harm to congresspeople down there. But in any case, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how much he changes it. He says he's a big First Amendment guy, although it's not going to be, what were his lines, some hate-filled swamp or whatever he said.
He said it won't be a hellscape. He said that to advertisers because Twitter makes the vast majority of its money from advertisers. And by the way, a lot of those advertisers who he attempted to assure said there's a red line. The red line is if Trump comes back, we're leaving regardless of what you do about content
Well, you know
moderation.
something, we'll see. We may hear a lot of these kinds of pledges from companies that are going to do the right thing, and they end up doing the right thing for a little while, and then when they start losing money, they stop doing the right thing and knuckle under and end up doing the wrong thing. So we'll see. Is it going to matter to you? What do you think about this? What do you think about Elon Musk taking over Twitter? What much more important, should Jim Brady be continuing his purchase of a Tesla? You know, there was this great quote in this guy from this who's worked at Escalant's Automotive and Mobility Group. I guess that's got something to do with Tesla. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, he talks about hearing from Tesla owners all the time who say, I love my car, but I really wish I didn't have to respond to my friends and my family about every one of Elon Musk's tweets.
Well, yeah, isn't it analogous to, I think he's the richest guy in the world. Isn't the second richest guy Bezos? It's the same kind of deal. I mean, you know, you love Amazon and you hate the guy who runs it and the way he treats his people. 877-301-8970. By the way, the best piece I read last night or this morning about this was an op-ed by a guy whose name I don't recall in the New York Times. I do recall. His name is David Nassov, is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure. It's called The Robber Barons Had Nothing on Elon Musk. And he makes the point that the modern, it's not just Elon Musk, but sort of the generic uber billionaire like Musk essentially depends on huge government subsidies to be able to be successful in business. And he details the subsidies that he has benefited from. And then as soon as he's profitable based upon those subsidies, he says government should get out of my business, out of my hair kind of thing. And he's done it, whether you like him or not, pretty brilliantly. By the way, someone just texted, and that is correct. When we mentioned that he changed his profile and mentioned that he was Chief Twit, a texter said, "Isn't Jim Chief Twit at Boston Public Radio?" That actually is an issue I had not thought about. That is a real problem. 877-301-8970.
You know, and I'm also interested in, I almost never go on Twitter. I haven't tweeted in ages. I do go on covering certain things, like if there's a debate or something like that, and I'll watch what the Twitterverse is saying. How much Twitter matters to people? How much of it plays into their everyday life? Because not that many people actually, compared to other social media sites, are on Twitter.
You're not going to like this. It's my breaking news source.
Well,
it's my chief breaking news
that's
source.
What very many people say, including my children. That's where they get their news, is from Twitter. So I'd be interested in what people have to say about the role Twitter plays in their life. Let's start with Richard in Canton. Hi, thank you for calling.
Hey there.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, about the Twitter and breaking news source, that's how I use Twitter as well. I've been on it for years. But my larger point was about Elon Musk and the way genius can sometimes move an entire society forward. He's done more for electrification of our transportation system, perhaps colonizing Mars. Like when I was a kid and we had the launches of the Apollo program, I was so optimistic about colonizing the galaxy, maybe having a base on the moon, and then we did nothing with it. Like for 30 years, I'm like, oh man, I thought we were going to space. What's the story? Instead, we got, I don't know what we got in society. And here's Elon moving us forward. Yeah, he says nutty things. He brings a sink into Twitter. Let that sink in. Sure, I see the humor, but...
can I stop you, Richard, for a second? I think you're being far too kind. One of the reasons that we have this threat to democracy in this country is because of the sickness and violence that has been advanced on social media. And at least what I've read about Elon Musk, who's done all these great things you mentioned, is he doesn't believe in serious content moderation. And so the same hate-filled crap that you see on Parler or Gab or those sort of things, I want to be sure that he's not going to allow that on Twitter before I praise him for advancing the colonization of Mars. Doesn't that worry you too?
It does. It does worry me, but you have to wait until we see what he does. I think I believe that he was completely against the insurrection at the Capitol. He was appalled by it, as we all were.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I mean, I don't think he can be appalled by it if it turns out he lets some of these users advance this crap that they do on a lot of these right-wing social networks. We'll see, Richard. Thank you for the call. One of the things that he's done great, but there's a downside too. This Starlink thing of his, I wasn't aware of it till a couple of weeks ago until he said he was going to stop doing it, is Starlink is the satellite system that has not only allowed people to communicate with each other in Ukraine when communication grids were destroyed by the Russians, but a lot of the military coordination has done it. He threatened to stop it. You know why?
Or to have people pay?
Because he had spent $18 million, which is comparable to about $1.50 for you. And to his credit, at the end of the day, there was so much public pressure, he said he'd continue it. But again, did a great thing and then threatened to take it away because it was going to cost them a few bucks.
Well, he's also enraged Ukrainians by saying they should have a negotiated solution.
I know, he did say that.
With the Russians but of course we had some progressive Democrats do the same thing, and now they've retracted their
That's true.
letter, including Ayanna Pressley Joan Bernanke wrote about it today in the Globe. Rob from Lawrence, thank you for calling.
Hello.
By the way, you know something? We should stop saying threat to democracy. I think we should say your vote won't count anymore. Because what does threat to democracy means? The president keeps talking about a threat to democracy. Barack Obama was talking about a threat to democracy. I think a lot of people are thinking, what does that mean? I mean, what would you say the threat to democracy is? I would say it's your vote's not going to count.
I think a threat to democracy based on the text is the fact that I am buying a Tesla.
Well,
people are not
Brian
very
from Cambridge
happy.
is not happy. He says you should get a Chevy Bolt, Jim, but I think the problem is you can't fit into a Chevy
why?
Bolt.
Because he said it's
Made in America,
not union made.
union.
And I agree. The problem is when you're 6'5", it's hard to find an EV that is available that you can drive. In any
Well,
case,
6'5" and a big man.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Marjorie
is making a girth kind of thing. Really?
That's part of the problem, isn't
Taylor
it?
Swift is in trouble for the exact same thing you're doing. You are girth shaming with me, by the way.
It's a big head, Jim.
Yeah.
Isn't that the problem?
Well, no, my head fits in the car, actually. And speaking of, by the way, let's go to Rob and Lawrence. You're next. You've been very patient on Boston Public Radio. Thanks for the call, Rob. Hey.
Good morning,
And to you.
Jim and Margie. Thank you for taking my call. I've listened to you for a number of years
Thank you.
now, and I used to agree with you on a lot of things, but in later years, I'm disagreeing more and more. I am Team Elon, and I'm very happy that he has successfully gotten, what he wants, and I'm very anxious to see what he's going to do, because if he does what I believe he's going to do, we won't see as much of the censorship that I see in the mainstream media, that I see on YouTube, that I see.
What censorship
What
censorship, Rob, upsets you?
The censorship that upsets me is the quashing of conservative views under the guise of disinformation.
Well, by the way, I don't know, with all due respect, I know that's a good line. I follow.
It's not a good line.
Excuse me, if I can finish a sentence, then you speak, and then I speak, and then you speak. I follow a ton of right-wingers on Twitter. I'm sure some comments have been banned. Who is name me a right-wing person who does not advocate violence or insurrection who's been censored by Twitter? I don't know of one. Can you tell me?
The former president of the United States.
Yeah, who's an insurrectionist?
There was no insurrection.
Goodbye,
Okay.
Rob. Rob, thanks for the call. I'm sorry.
You know-
Fact-based disagreement we're fine with. There is no insurrection, doesn't belong on the show.
You know, when people
Thank
talk,
you.
that's another catchphrase, quashing conservative views. You have Ben Shapiro out there leading Facebook half the time. You got Dan Bongino's got that huge following radio show. You've got Fox News. Obviously, you've got One American Nation or whatever that network is called. You've got all these places that are expressing conservative views. So the quashing conservative views things is kind of one of those bogus claims.
Can I read? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Here's a text, which is a response to a question I asked before. If you say, I've had enough of Twitter because I don't want Musk there, he makes me nervous and more, where do you go? Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway, who know a little bit about this, talked about this on their Pivot podcast. There's nowhere to go. Some alternative platform that is purely news-centric with verified users and some level of moderation is what's required. For now, this texter says, unsigned, I'll sit anonymously on Twitter and watch what plays out. So there really is no place to go if you find it to be a really important part of your life, which it is to me. So
Yeah, when you say you get your news, explain that, elaborate on that
breaking
a little
news.
bit.
I mean, there's seconds after things happen, they are there. Videos are posted from Ukraine to I didn't see it, but Pelosi's husband was hammered, literally
Right.
hammered,
But
hit
see,
with a hammer in his house.
But
I'm
you
assuming
do get with the same amount of speed. Maybe Twitter's
No, you
faster.
do
I don't
not.
know. You get them almost instantaneously.
Know why you don't?
Okay.
Because as you would like it to happen, I agree with you,
Yeah.
what you see on a newspaper site has to be written and edited. There is no editing. And it's a problem at times because often something gets up.
But I think they often put the headlines, like Nancy Pelosi's husband. That came across my phone very, very early. I forget if it was
Twitter
from
is the
CNN or
fastest
New York.
breaking news source
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
But, okay, so is it by seconds? By minutes?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is,
Yeah.
but I know it's really useful. You also get a discussion, and generally, the people you follow, you know where they're coming from, so you have a sense of where the discussions. I just find it really useful. Not to mention, I mean, there's nothing like a baby animal Twitter page to brighten your day.
I just find it really depressing. It's kind of to me like comments in the newspaper.
It's not.
Like really depressing.
For the most part, it is not nearly as bad. I don't think, anyway.
Jason in Arlington, thank you for calling.
Hey, Jason.
Hi. I wanted to talk about both the Twitter issue and the car. So I don't think anybody's going to be quitting Twitter just because Elon Musk took it over. It's just as valid as anybody who's on Facebook and says, oh, I'm taking a Facebook break and we're going to be gone for a month, and then 2 days later they're back on. It's too much. It's too addictive. It's too need to self-perpetuate. And you get through things too quickly. I don't like Twitter that much at all. I'm not even on it. My friends are on it, and I can't stand when they're showing me tweets. I'm like, this doesn't matter at all. But on your
well, can I respond to your first point before you criticize me for my Tesla deposit, which is fair game? Is the difference is, for example, when the Joe Rogan thing came up, being the hypocrite that I am, I was worried that I was criticizing Spotify and going to do nothing. I found out about Tidal, which I didn't even know existed, and switched. There's an option. I don't think there is an option if you get things out of Twitter, and I apparently get much more out of it than you do. I respect your position, but I get much more out of it than you do. There's no place for me to go, which is a problem. But in any case, what's your point about the Tesla, please, Jason?
Well, I think you're right. There's no place to go, but I don't care.
I understand that.
The thing about the Tesla is I've had a bunch of family members talking about getting a new EV, and there's over 30 EVs on the market in the United States that get a better mileage than a Tesla. So you can go out and buy American, and you could buy a new Mustang. Can
I just tell you, Jason, you obviously weren't listening. Our lead producer owns that Mustang. I've sat in it across the street. I have to put my head out the window. The problem,
Jim has a big head.
No, it's not because of my head. It's the head is the top of body that is 6 feet 5 inches.
That's right.
And I tried out a lot of EVs. Either they weren't available, I didn't fit. Listen, I'm as conflicted as you all are critical of me for my decision. But that's why I made the decision.
It's the bottom line. Jim can't fit in the car unless it's a Tesla. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation, Jim. But there you have it. There it is.
I mean, it's a problem, and it is not, by the way, because of my girth. I mean, and my girth is not nearly as girthful as Marjorie is suggesting.
No, you're not. You look quite svelte over there.
Well, it's a little late for that, Marjorie. Thank you. It's really late. But what I was trying to say was it's my height. And by the way, let me be clear about this. Some people think I'm being defensive, which I am. I would be just as critical of me as you were all being of me. And it was an agonizing decision, and I hope I made the right one.
Oh, my goodness. Look at all the texts we're getting from people saying there's zero insurrection. Wow.
Again, I want to be clear.
I don't know how you can see what happened with your own eyes. By the way, the guy got 7 years for dragging, 7.5 years for dragging that Michael Fanon, that cop down the step.
Can I just say one thing about that? Every time when I say, how can someone think such and such a thing, your response to me is because of Fox News and right-wing media, et cetera. And you're generally right. You're wrong when it comes to insurrection if you make that argument. You cannot avoid the video. I don't care whether you're Fox News obsessed. You cannot be a sentient, you cannot be a breathing human being and credibly believe there was not an insurrection.
It's a photoshopped video. It was Antifa.
You think that guy Cole believes that? It was crisis
actors dressed up as Trump supporters. I mean, I think that's where these people go.
By the way,
what's happened to
Antifa?
They seem to have disappeared.
Unless you were as dumb as Marjorie Taylor Greene, do you think any of these people believe this? Any of these people?
I think that some of them do. Yes, I do.
Anyway,
we're talking about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. We're going to keep talking about it after a quick break. The number is 877-301-8970.
Japan is not an overly religious country, but Japan's ruling party has long been associated with the Unification Church. It's not just a religion, it's a movement that has been building its power for decades.
A lot of us of certain generation knew the Unification Church as a rather predatory cult.
How an organization used religious fervor to amass wealth and power in Japan. It's on the world.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7. Funding for our programs comes from you. And Mission Safe, working comprehensively with Boston's youth to provide caring relationships, horizon-broadening activities, arts, job training, and more. Details at missionsafe.org. And Babson College. You can achieve your career goals with a part-time MBA from the #1 school for entrepreneurship according to U.S. News and World Report. Hybrid and online programs available. Learn more at babson.edu/part-time.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We're talking about the purchase last night of Twitter for $44 billion by Elon Musk. What's your reaction? Are you troubled? Some people appear to be quite happy about it. If you are troubled, what are you going to do about it? A number of texters have said to the show, LinkedIn serves similar purposes for them.
Mastodon? Have you heard of that?
Nope, I do not.
That's what a texter just said, that they switched to Mastodon, Mastodon. I've never heard of it.
And by the way, there are 3 tweeters in a space of less than a minute who said essentially, yes, Jim does have a big head. Which is really, I love when you start those conversations and they take on a life of their own. Amanda, you're in Wilmington. And by the way, a number of people have texted and said first thing when they woke up this morning, they deleted the app from their phone. I'm guessing that's not a huge number. We'll see. Amanda, you're in Wilmington. Welcome to the show.
Hi, longtime listener. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got rid of Facebook like almost 2.5 years ago. I don't need it. The negativity and everything on it is horrible. I never really had Twitter. My husband has it, and I still don't. I'm not on it at all. I think people have an addiction. They need to get off the social media and look at other ways for news, or I don't know. I also have an electric car. We did not buy a Tesla because I cannot stand Elon. We got a Mustang Mach-E. We've had it for 2 years. We love it. So I'm encouraging people, take a break or get off of it. That's it.
That's a healthy way to live, Amanda. Thank you so much for the call. Marjorie, your mic's not working.
It's not working.
It is now.
Oh, it is now.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
So
Someone that shall go nameless said he's in the shop all the time with his electric Mustang.
Yeah, you mean like Jamie? Oh, don't say Jamie. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, it says it doesn't. It doesn't
Jamie.
work that well, so that could be a problem. I don't know.
Well, for some people.
Yeah.
877-301-8970. Let's go to Ed in Stoneham. We're talking about Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter. Hey there. By the way, let me just say for a second, neither of us are, for those who say let's give him a chance, being Musk, neither of us are big fans of Jeff Bezos. I would argue the Washington Post remains the first or second best paper in America under Jeff Bezos, which I know worried us when he took over. So maybe Elon Musk, the concerns we have about Musk may not materialize. We don't know. Ed in Stoneham, hey.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I
Sure.
really love you guys. Listen all the time.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make to your point, Jim, I mean, I love Twitter. I don't like Elon Musk that much. But the other day, the active shooter at the Mass Art residential community, like my son's in that building. He's a student there. I hear about it from him on a text. I go to 4, 5, and 7, nothing. You guys on the radio, nothing. I do a Google search, for news on Mass Art, nothing. I go to Twitter, and I'm getting an update every 3 seconds. Some students who are in there, people who are around there. And the only way I could get information about, the safety of what was going on before we knew it was like a costume, was Twitter.
Well, Ed, that is a great point. That is a great point. The instantaneousness of people reporting, and obviously, when you have these terrible things happening in other countries, where we're seeing a lot of the stuff, we're seeing it on Twitter from people that are on the street with active demonstration. That is a good point.
I hope your kid's okay, Ed. Thanks for sharing that story with us. We really we appreciate it.
877-301-8970. We're talking about Elon Musk running Twitter. What will Twitter be like under his stewardship? Let's go to 877-301-8970 is the number. Tenna from Rhode Island says it's amazing how many dudes are pro-Elon. His history of misogyny is enough to make women turn against him. Shocking how few allies women actually have in this post-Roe world. He's talking about there's been, he had to settle a claim with $250,000 for allegation he sexually harassed someone, an employee. He called it untrue.
That's another one of those admitting no guilt kind of deals. Is it not, if I remember that settlement correctly? Am I wrong?
Yeah. And there's been a lot of upset at SpaceX. Employees have been upset with him, calling him a frequent source of distraction and embarrassment, and he fired them. His daughter changed her name and legal gender after his history of mocking pronouns. It's not good when your daughter is out to
Your
get
own
you.
kid,
That's not good.
Tell Herschel Walker that, by the way, her son in his case.
Anyway, Chet in the car, thank you for calling.
Hey, Chet, what's up?
Hi. So two things. One, so with the Twitter thing, I don't think that much is going to change, except I think that there's going to be a few changes that are not good. Like, he's already talked about how he's getting rid of, like, lifetime suspensions, which I suppose you can have differing opinions on, but, like, there's a number of people that are being brought back because of that definitely shouldn't be brought back.
Well, that's a problem. I mean, I think even though it makes me sick, a Trump as presidential candidate has to be allowed back and given a chance. Trump as citizen Trump is arguably the most dangerous person, I think, on the planet. And that troubles me a lot. And I don't know what I'll do if today or tomorrow he says citizen Trump is back on Twitter. I don't know what I'll do. But go ahead, Chet.
Yeah, so, well, with Trump, I'm honestly, like, it's not ideal, but I'm okay with it just because a lot of his tweets are kind of funny because they're just so insane. Yeah. But, I think, honestly, that Musk bought Twitter. I think all of this was just a way for him to dump a bunch of Tesla stock without crashing the stock price.
Well, I don't know enough. I'm embarrassed. I don't know enough about economics to know. Chet, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Aaron from Hopkins may have solved your problem about buying the Tesla.
Is this something about my head?
Oh, no, it's not.
What is it?
He said, you must be able to fit in the Ford Lightning, the all-electric F-150, right?
Isn't that $150,000? What is that?
It's a pickup truck. It's a Ford pickup truck, the most popular car in America.
Yeah.
I can see you tooling around
No,
Cambridge.
I'm a pickup truck kind of guy. No, I really am, yeah.
Might be a little bit difficult to park in Cambridge,
well,
but you can definitely fit in it. That is a big car for a big man, Jim.
And it comes with Army fatigues. Are you aware of that?
That's right.
Really, they're free with the purchase
That's right.
price.
But you know what was really amazing when they made the all-electric F-150? How many people wanted to buy them? I thought that was great.
Didn't they sell out in a week?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
By the way, Jamie says the F-150 Lightning starts at $51,000.
Ooh, that's a little cheaper than the Tesla, isn't it?
It actually is. It is.
Len from Beverly, you are next. Thank you for
Len,
calling.
what's up?
Hey, Jim. Can you hear me?
If you said, hey, Jim, can you hear me? I can.
Ha, ha, ha.
I'm calling from my Tesla, Jim, and besides never being a user of Twitter, which I find no use for, and having exited Facebook as soon as I got an unrequested happy birthday from someone I barely knew.
Oh, boy, I'm with you on those happy birthdays, Len. They're really a tribulation.
So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Forget about Elon Musk. Enjoy your Tesla when you finally get it. It's a wonderful car. You will never regret it.
Well, one supporter, Len, you're a kind soul. Thank you for the call.
I must admit, one of my good friends has a Tesla, and she took me for a ride a couple of years ago, and I've never seen you go so fast from 0 to 60. You feel like you're in a jet airplane taking off.
As you know, I'm not exactly a speedy driver. That's
Jim
not
goes
part of my
55
thing.
on the Mass
I'm like
bike.
a functional
Everybody,
driver.
like a grandmother, everybody speeds by him. But you know what?
I have the coastal grandmother thing that you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, just in my car.
That's right. It's got that big, huge screen in the front, so you can't miss a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty exciting, Jim.
Oh, thank you.
You'll take me for a ride in your Tesla, won't you?
I was before today's show, but I think not, actually. No.
Okay.
By the way, we're going to discuss Twitter a little bit and get the sense of somebody who thinks much more about these things than we do. That'd be Callie Crossley at noon.
Yes, we are going to talk about with Callie and maybe throughout the day, Jim. But right now, we are switching gears. We're going to talk with Lydia Downey from the Pine Street Inn. They have plans to convert this Comfort Inn Hotel in Dorchester into home for more than 100 plus people, affordable housing units over there. And they're going to talk about, Lydia's going to talk about the situation for homelessness in general in Boston. She is president, of course, and executive director of the Pine Street Inn. Lydia Downey is next. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
clock is ticking down on the Charlie Baker era, but instead of coasting to the finish, the governor is flexing his muscle. I'm Adam Riley. Tonight on Talking Politics, we'll look at Baker's endgame and get a neutral, nonpartisan analysis of ballot questions 3 and 4, which could shake up the liquor industry and decide whether unauthorized immigrants can get driver's licenses. All that on Talking Politics tonight at 7 on GBH2 and online at gbhnews.org.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering Medicare Advantage plans with new benefits like enhanced dental coverage, as well as a broad network of doctors, hospitals, and specialists. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And Ocean State Job Lot, partnering with customers to help veterans in the Northeast by donating winter coats to those in need. More at OceanStateJobLot.com. That's OceanStateJobLot.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim, Brady, Marjorie. And before we introduce our next guest, I wish this had happened a half hour ago rather than 3 minutes ago. Reuters is reporting that this is less than 12 hours after Musk takes over Twitter, that Kanye West, who has been suspended for his grotesque, my word, not Reuters, anti-Semitic remarks, is back up on the platform. I'll tell you, that really requires people who consider themselves to be principled, and I sort of include myself in that, to make a decision pretty rapidly. That's pretty horrible. In any case, joining us in person at the library is Lindy Downey. Lindy, of course, the president and executive director of the Pine Street Inn, the largest homeless services provider in New England. Hey there, Lindia.
How are you?
We're good.
Hey, Lindy, great to talk to you again. So before we get to what you're doing over in Dorchester and elsewhere and the whole overall situation for homelessness in Boston, I want to play you a little sound. We had Governor Charlie Baker on with us yesterday. Front page of the Globe today was a kind of a little dust-up, I guess, between him and the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. Here's Charlie Baker talking about mass and casts.
Just wanted to set the record straight because I have a legislature that gave me $40 million to spend on this stuff, and we did. I'm not looking for anybody to be grateful, okay? I just think we put a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of conversation and dialogue with the city into addressing many of these issues. And I thought we had a partnership.
I would like to say, before you ask a question, I would not say what I'm about to say on air had I not said it on air to the governor. At the time. We were sitting 3 feet away from him. He was really angry. I mean, he rarely gets that kind of aggravated in our presence. And he was really unhappy about what the mayor had said. But
so, Lindia, let's put you right in the middle of this. I mean, he's obviously saying that they have spent a lot of money trying to resolve the mass cast situation, that Mayor Wu maybe didn't recognize that when she asked the state to do more. I don't know what's going on there, but can you set us straight?
Yeah, I mean, the state has put a lot of money in down there over the past couple of years, both direct intervention in terms of case management and trying to move people out of mass casts. They've helped fund a program we're running at Shattuck Shelter, a very low barrier program for people who are coming off mass casts that we hope eventually to help with housing. They're helping to pay for some of the services at the Roundhouse, which Boston Medical Center is running. So there's been a big investment. I think money is only a piece of this, and the city's put a lot of money in too. And a lot of resources. City staff are down there every single day of the week. They're down there all day, 365 days a year, and they're spending resources. We need not just money, we need better systems, we need better data. And somewhat ironically, if you look at last year when the tents were there, almost every single person that was in the tents, they're either in somewhere, right? They're not sleeping out on the tents. Problem is there's so many new people coming in that we haven't figured out how to stem the tide. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue going forward.
Well, and I think the point has been made in many of the stories covering the situation down there, is that many of the people who are there are not from Boston, they're from someplace else. So is part of the problem that maybe the someplace else's are not doing what they should be in their own towns, or what?
Well, I think it's about a 50-50, right? About 50% of the folks down there are from Boston. The other 50% are from outside of Boston, but not far outside of Boston, right? Quincy, Cambridge, Lynn. I mean, it's not a universe, so it's a greater Boston issue. Yeah, of course. Other cities and towns should be doing a better job. They should, frankly, have more treatment and more affordable housing where they are, but we all know that's much easier said than done.
I just have one quick thing before we move on from this. The Baker administration has been trying to get the more affordable housing around tea stops, in places where the tea runs to. And there has been some community opposition to having that affordable housing there. And we're going to talk about some community opposition coming up in Dorchester. What do you say to people who are afraid that, oh my God, there goes the neighborhood, if a place for people without homes comes into the neighborhood?
So what I typically say is that we at Pine Street, even though everybody thinks we're a shelter, we've been working on permanent supportive housing for over 10 years now. We have 34 sites in Boston, Brookline, and Chelsea where we run supportive housing where formerly homeless people live. Most people have no idea that we do that, or any idea that formerly homeless people live in these buildings. And the reason I bring that up is you don't get from 1 to 34 if you do a really bad job. We're not perfect, right? Stuff happens, but we're responsive. We care about the neighborhood we're in. We care about it for our tenants and the neighbors. And so I would often say to people, as I've said to people in Dorchester, come and see one of the sites, meet some of the tenants. People are afraid. And affordable housing has a horrible connotation when, in fact, for a lot of people, it's not just homeless people that need affordable housing, it's people across the whole income range, right? So people at 80% of median can't afford to buy a house or rent a house in Greater Boston. What are we going to do about that? You can't just say no all the time. That's what's driving up the rents. We don't have enough supply.
Lindy, last several times you've been here, we've talked ad nauseum, as you will today, about this supportive housing that you are committed to, and your top priority now is finding permanent housing for people. I know you have, close to 1,000 units either established or in process, which is stunning and amazing. Could you describe to people who haven't heard you in the past exactly what that means, the term?
So supportive housing is typically housing that's affordable with some kind of support services for people. And in our case, it's typically case management, some other, we have a small clinical team that rotates through our housing if somebody's really in crisis and they need deeper support. And the case managers really do everything from help people to figure out how you're going to get primary care, how you're going to take your medication, how you're going to cook again if you've been on the streets and shelter for a long time. For some people, believe it or not, it's a relatively new experience. Where's the best place for you to shop? Where are the food pantries? So they do all of that, plus the much more intensive things like if you're on medication, how do we help you stay on your medication? It is an answer to people who are homeless the longest who have a disability. Lots of other homeless people don't need supportive housing. They just need a cheap place to live, frankly.
And in the places you've built or established that do have supportive housing where you provide these services, I don't mean literally a number, but what's the success rate? How often does it hold? How often does it work?
So we track people from a year upon entry to housing, and last year our retention rate was 96%, which means if we placed you a year ago, you're still there. Now, over time, it goes down a little bit, but it's not, I want to be clear, it's not that everybody's living a perfect life. People are still poor, they're still struggling, they still have disabilities, but if you bring support to the table, we can keep people housed. Job one, keep you housed. So whatever you're dealing with can happen in housing, not in shelter, not on the street.
Is it the Paul Sullivan housing that's somewhere in Roxbury, Dorchester, that I may have visited a couple of years ago? Is that what it's called, the Paul Sullivan housing?
Yeah, it was originally called Paul Sullivan housing. Now we just call it Pine Street Inn housing.
Okay, whatever. But I just remember one of the neat things was the central room where kind of everybody can hang out. And I thought that was a wonderful thing, because if you are homeless, you may be kind of lonely, you've been living by yourself, that there's kind of a hangout place there, which, couches and TV, and there was a really homey, nice, supportive feel to it. I remember thinking the time I was over there, and I think that's a big plus of a lot of the housing you guys have built.
Yeah, we have usually a community room in all of our houses so people can watch the game or have dinner together or whatever. It is hard to build community again once you've been homeless. It's a different life, and I know that sounds so simple, but it's not quite as simple as it sounds. You got to really work at it.
Well, but there's one more thing, and this is as a result of somebody who you've worked with, who I was able to talk to, actually a couple of people. On one side, yes, this communal thing is obviously of great value, but when I've heard people tell stories of what it feels like when the door closes on the first permanent housing they've had in years, it breaks your heart. I mean, it is so incredibly powerful, this notion that it's theirs, and you have a big smile on your face. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And we're building now these very small studio apartments. They're about 350 square feet. But if you've had nothing that feels like a palace. You have your own bathroom, you got a little kitchenette, you've got some community space. It feels like a little miracle for a lot of people.
So around the country, apparently, a lot of people who do what you do are zeroing it, who believe in supportive housing, believe that hotels are a good opportunity because obviously occupancy rates have been down during the pandemic. They're beginning to pick up, which may mean the window of opportunity may close. You focused on this Dorchester Comfort Inn. Tell us first what you hope to do, and second, what the obstacles are that you've been facing.
So we're working with community builders who would be the development partner. They would buy the hotel and renovate it, and we'd renovate it into small studio apartments. We think we can get about 104 studio apartments. Again, small apartments, some common space on the ground floor, as Marjorie described, some office space for the staff. And hotels are pretty easily convertible because you've got a bathroom already. You've really got the room. They don't need a lot of work, and this hotel's in pretty good shape. So that's the plan. I think, as you both know, there's been a lot of pushback, a lot of fear, a lot of concern about bringing people into the neighborhood that may not fit with the tenor of the neighborhood now. And, it's mostly based in fear and mostly based in frankly, a lot of people are worried that MassCast is moving to Dorchester, and we're hearing that a lot. And I think, unfortunately, the press about MassCast makes it sound like that's the only thing happening in homelessness when, there's a lot more going on every day. I think the other thing I would say, one of the challenges at MassCast is that there's so many people coming and going. Those people do not end up being priority one for supportive housing. So you have to be homeless for at least a year straight. So if you leave for 3 or 4 months, you start over again. And that's a HUD definition. It's not a city definition. And so not a lot of people from MassCast are getting housed in supportive housing because of that. So there's a systems.
And I assume from the little bit I've read that the major concern, or at least what they say is the major concern, the opponents, is security, right?
Yep.
And you have a response to the security concern.
We do. We plan to have security in the building. We'd have case managers there during the day, staff on the evening and overnight shift, and then security on the evening and overnight shift.
What does that mean, security? I mean, if somebody has their own place and says, I want to go out, they do it, right?
Absolutely. The security really is partially about keeping our tenants safe, but also partially about responding to neighborhood concerns. So we use a private security firm. We use them in our bigger projects. And it's really a bit like a front desk person, like you see in some other buildings, not quite a concierge, but the same idea. And also to monitor who's coming in and out.
I think everybody who knows us and knows you would admit in a minute you're a far nicer person than I am, and maybe even nicer than Marjorie. So
much nicer.
No, you are an incredible human. How do you feel when you confront I'm assuming, knowing you as we do, your first response is charitable. It's lack of knowledge about what the reality is. But when the fight continues, when you have answers, legitimate answers to what they say are their primary concerns, what does that do to you?
Well, I think it's hard. I mean, I would be the first to say it's really hard, and I don't mind getting rotten tomatoes thrown at me, right? I work for our guests and tenants, and those are the people I'm here to work for. But it's hard. It's hard to hear the stuff that's not true. It's hard to hear the stereotypes. It's hard to hear the fear. I've been working with homeless people for well over 30 years, and somebody years ago, when I was younger, said, am I ever afraid? And the thought never even dawned on me. I've been working with folks like this for a long time. The image is different than the reality, and the fear factor is huge, which is the biggest obstacle we face in trying to convince people that this will work.
So is there a path I'm sorry, just one last thing about this Comfort Inn deal in Dorchester. Is there a realistic path to resolution here, or it's too early to know?
Yeah, I think it's too early, Jim. I think we don't know yet.
When you talk about people being afraid, Katie Moog, if it's M-O-G-G, at Globe Correspondent, had a great piece talking about how many people, late baby boomers, have been vulnerable to homelessness, and it's because they don't have any money.
Exactly.
They were in apartments for years. All of a sudden, the tenant raises the rent, or all of a sudden, the tenant wants to, the person that owns the complex wants to move. You've heard of the Piano Factory people have been fighting for years down there to hold on to their apartments. That's on Tremont Street, because they're always afraid that the guy that owns it is going to sell it, and the rent's going to go through the roof, and blah, blah, blah. So they wind up at 65 or 70 homeless.
Average age of our tenants right now, Marjorie, is 57. 57. So I want you to think about that. Average age of our tenants is 57 years old. You've already worked during your life. You've had your kids. If you have a family, if you've never been married or never had a partner, you're by yourself at 57, trying to figure out, how do I afford this? And at 57, you might well still be in the workforce, but you don't have a lot of working years left either. So it's a very scary phenomenon that we're seeing, where our population, we're all aging, right? The baby boomers are aging.
Tragically, yes.
Yes, and part
Very
of what
quickly.
you're seeing is homeless baby boomers aging. But when you're homeless, you age faster. You have much more complicated medical issues, and the pieces of your life that you have to keep together get more complicated when you're homeless.
Well, this piece focused on this couple, a man and a woman, and they lost their home. And this one was 54 years old and talked about, her name was Defilia Bizel. She was, for not that long, they were homeless, but during that time of being around the city in the severe weather, she not only developed arthritis and asthma, but she had terrible anxiety, terrible sleep apnea. She was on a walker. I mean, talking about how she had to shuffle to the women's shelter in the South, and I guess it means Rosie's place, because she had lost her health in that brief amount of time.
Yeah, I think people are always surprised when I tell them how challenging the health issues are for people. If you walk into the men's in lobby or the women's in lobby, there's a lot of people with walkers, a number of people in wheelchairs, a lot of people mobility impaired, but there's people with all kinds of chronic conditions. And sometimes the reason they're homeless, they've lost their housing because of a health crisis. Even if they had insurance, the bill got paid, but if you can't work for 6 months and you don't have any savings and the rent goes up, you do find yourself homeless, and then you're homeless and have a health condition you're trying to struggle through.
So I can never tell. Every year when you hear this part of the year, I can never tell if you're aggravated when I tell the same story. And since I can't remember, I'll tell the story and I'll watch your face more closely and see if you get aggravated. Either in the Globe or you told us a few years ago, there was a story about Thanksgiving at the Pine Street Inn and the incredible outpouring of wonderful people, famous people, not so famous, ordinary people, etc., helping. And there was a story about people calling and saying they wanted to volunteer at the Pine Street Inn, which is absolutely wonderful, and we'll tell people how they can volunteer in a minute. But when they found out that they couldn't volunteer on one specific day, Thanksgiving, they were not interested in the other 364. Do you get aggravated when I ask you a question? I can't remember.
No,
Okay.
I don't. Listen, I'm grateful for any help whenever we get it, right?
And what
we
is
need
that-
it.
I
We
mean-
need it. We need it. We need the help all year. But we do tend to be overwhelmed more in the winter because people think about homelessness. You think about it at Thanksgiving, you think about it at Christmas. And listen, it is the hardest time of the year for our guests. There's no question about it. Everybody else is going home and you're not.
Family deal. It's
Right.
not just the cold.
All of it. All of it. So we're grateful for the outpouring. Would we like to stretch it out a little bit? Absolutely. So feel free to call us about Thanksgiving, but if we don't have room, I hope you'll call us back and
So
offer to
in
come
case
some
we
other
don't
time.
forget when time does run out, how do people volunteer or contribute to the Pine Street Inn?
Honestly, best way is just to go right on the website.
Which is?
PineStreetInn.org.
PineStreetInn.org.
Yep.
So there was another piece that I found interesting this morning when I Mass Live, talking about how homelessness is soaring around the United States, places you wouldn't expect it. South Dakota, Asheville, North Carolina, California, I think we've known about for a while with big-time homeless problems. And Boston, by the way, has decreased its numbers by 25%. So what's going on there? What's going on here?
Supportive housing, right?
Well, it's not all of it. Part of, I think, what the report didn't cover is the fact that the street numbers went up during COVID because a lot of people didn't want to come into shelter because we had such high COVID rates. So you saw a bunch of people literally saying, I'm going to stay outside. So we saw a big increase in street numbers during COVID. Those numbers have since come back down, but they've come down lower than the pre-COVID number, slightly. So we've definitely made some headway. And I think it's all of it. I think it's better prevention. I think, the eviction moratoriums certainly have helped. I think
Which is over.
It's over now.
Yes.
It's over now, right? And I think we're starting to see some of the impact of that. So I think it's all of it. I think it's keeping our foot on the pedal with supportive housing and moving out long-term stayers so you can meet new demand. I did a interview with San Francisco's public radio a couple of weeks ago because we had a reporter in from San Francisco who went out on our outreach van, and she came back and said, I didn't see a lot of homeless people. Where are they? And I said, well, that's what you saw. And she said, well, in San Francisco, we see 20, 30 times that. And it was really interesting to hear the contrast. So we've done some things right, but today, I think the Globe's reporting we're now the second most expensive rental market in the country. And if we don't keep working on the supply for people at the bottom, we run the risk that our numbers are going to go up.
And by the way, I know this should be obvious to people, because the mortgage rates are stratospheric. They passed 7% for the first time in years, I think yesterday. Because people can't afford to buy homes, they decide to rent instead, which means there's more demand for rental property, which means by definition, the price of rental property goes even higher. So this number 2
and
is
don't
going to
forget,
explode
first
as well.
month, last month, security deposit. I mean,
who can do
if
that?
the average rent is over $2,000, you're up to $10,000 practically.
Right.
I have one last thing for you without taking
$6,000.
sides. We had Maura Healey in yesterday, and we talked to her, and she is the front runner, obviously, and likely next governor. And we asked her about the mask and cast thing, and she really didn't take sides. She said, if I'm elected, I want to talk to Mayor Wilmore, be as helpful as possible. Have you heard anything from her as the possible likely next governor that makes you feel good about how she feels about these issues, or no?
We had both the candidates down, and
you did?
Yeah, we
Deal
did.
and Healy.
Yep. And I would say that they both got supportive housing, which we were excited about. But we've spent a fair amount of time really talking to both candidates about how do we expand what we've started, and how do we really keep, again, our foot on the gas so that we can keep supportive housing moving, not just in Boston, but statewide.
How do you feel about what you heard from them?
I think they both understood supportive housing. You know, you don't know until people get into office. Are they going to do what they said they were going to do? Of course, but I think we heard some of the right things.
That's good to hear. Lydia Downey, it's great to see you as always.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. And I hope you get
thanks for your
somewhere over in
incredible work.
Dorchester. And congratulations on all you do. Lydia Downey is the president and executive director of the Pine Street Inn, which does such tremendous work all around the city. We're glad she could come in. Coming up.
Wait, pinestreetinn.org, is that right?
Yes, thank you.
Pinestreetinn.org.
Thank you.
Coming up, we're going to talk with GBH's Callie Crossley about Elon Musk buying Twitter. And we'll also take some caution about buying pink for breast cancer awareness. That's next on 89.7 GBH, Boston Public Radio. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. And we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You're listening to Boston Public Radio with Jim Browdy and Marjorie Regan. Just ahead, more smart conversation about what's going on in our community. That's right after an NPR news break, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you. And Mass General Brigham Health Plan. Always Health Partners is now Mass General Brigham Health Plan. Committed to providing all their expertise, innovation, and compassion with you every day. You can follow them on social at MGB Health Plan. If you don't see race, you're not seeing the full picture. Don't miss Basic Black, where you'll find insightful conversations on issues affecting people of color. It's Basic Black, tonight at 7:30 on GBH2.
Trusted. Local. News. This is 89.7 WGBH, WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. Boston's local NPR.
Ahead on Boston Public Radio, we'll speak with GBH's Callie Crossley about Musk taking over Twitter and the controversy surrounding the Fetterman-Oz debate. Then we're back with another restaurant roundtable. This time, Irene Lee of Maymay Dumplings, soon to open in South Boston, and Stephen Nuki Postal of Bible Cafes in Commonwealth, Cambridge, join us to talk about their endeavors in Greater Boston.
Boston Book Festival kicks off tonight. Founder Deborah Porter and famed author Gish Jen join us to discuss the great events happening in Copley Square this weekend. Then our Live Music Friday continues. You'll hear from Black Bach, a Detroit-based classical pianist who's toured with Rihanna and Justin Timberlake. He'll tour with us at the Boston Public Library for a special event today. All that ahead on Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. An investigation's underway into a break-in at the San Francisco home of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, whose husband was attacked by an intruder. NPR's Deirdre Walsh has details.
Pelosi's spokesman Drew Hamill says an assailant broke in and, quote, violently assaulted Paul Pelosi early this morning. The person is in custody and police are investigating the motivation of the attack. Mr. Pelosi, who is 82, was taken to the hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. Hamill says the speaker is grateful for the first responders and requests privacy. She was not in San Francisco at the time of the attack. The speaker has been traveling, raising money and campaigning for Democratic candidates in her party's effort to keep control of the House in the midterm elections. Deirdre Walsh, NPR News.
Twitter is being delisted from the New York Stock Exchange after Elon Musk finalized a $44 billion deal to buy the social media company. The Tesla CEO has fired several executives who are expected to receive a combined payout of more than $100 million to exit. The deal follows months of legal wrangling between Musk and Twitter. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's fired more than 4,500 missiles against his country since the invasion 8 months ago. NPR's Nathan Rott reports many in recent weeks have targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure.
Russia's renewed countrywide assault on Ukraine has involved cruise missiles, artillery in some areas, and self-destructing Shahed drones. Zelensky stood over the wreckage of one of those drones in his address to the Ukrainian people. The aggressor continues his terror, he said. We are again attacked from the sky by a flock of their crows. More than 30 drones were launched into our skies in the last 2 days. Russia's drone attacks have largely been directed at Ukraine's energy and heating infrastructure in the lead up to the coming winter, prompting international worries of a major humanitarian disaster when temperatures in the country dip. Nathan Rott, NPR News, Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Game 1 of Major League Baseball's World Series is tonight in Houston, where the Astros host the Philadelphia Phillies. NPR's Dave Mistich says ahead of the first pitch, Houston's manager is expressing some disappointment about the makeup of this year's World Series rosters.
Barring some unexpected changes in the Astros or Phillies rosters, this year's Fall Classic will be the first time since 1950 that an American-born black player won't be on the field for a World Series. Astros manager Dusty Baker, who is black, said it's a sad development, but offered hope that black representation in the game will turn around.
NPR's Dave Mistich reporting. At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was up 616 points, 1.9%. This is NPR News.
Good afternoon from the GBH Radio Newsroom in Boston. I'm Henry Santoro. Colleen Weaver, the 16-year-old from Raynham who was reported missing earlier this month, has been found safe in New York City. Raynham Police Chief says Weaver was found around 11 o'clock last night with help from New York Police Department and the FBI. Raynham Police Chief James Donovan released a statement thanking all those who helped spread the word about Weaver's disappearance and said that she will soon be reunited with her family. She's alive and well. No word on how or why she ended up in New York. Connecticut and New England use African slave labor to generate enormous and lasting wealth, creating a racial caste system that still exists. That's according to a new report from the transatlantic slave trade in the U.S. Jeff Cohen with the New England News Collaborative has more.
The report from the Alabama-based Equal Justice Initiative documents how economically widespread and profitable that effort was in Connecticut for farmers, traders, and for the state's insurance companies.
We just have a lot of myths about slavery not being this central part of life in New England that are just simply false.
That's Brian Stevenson, the initiative's executive director.
The economic foundation for slavery was possible because of the engagement by Connecticut insurance companies that insured enslavers and allowed them to treat their, quote, property in a way where they could recover if there was death.
Stevenson says his goal for the report is to contribute to a new era of reckoning with an eye toward a more just and healthy future. For the New England News Collaborative, I'm Jeff Cohen.
Now trending on Twitter, supermodel Gisele Bündchen has filed for divorce from Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady. He says he will not contest it.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, which monitors safe driving habits to determine a personalized rate at Progressive.com. Not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
This is GBH News.
It's Jim Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live as we do every Friday and Tuesday from the Boston Public Library, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Hello again, Jim. You're supposed to say.
Hello again, Jim. Sorry
Hello
about
again,
that.
Marjorie. It's nice
Hello
to
again.
By the way, a couple of things coming up. We have a lot of great things coming up a little bit later this afternoon. We just introduced myself to Black Bach, and I listened to his new CD last night.
Incredible.
It is beyond brilliant. He's going to play for us a little bit later. The legendary Gish Jen is going to join us ahead of the Boston Book Festival, which is beginning tonight, running through tomorrow. But first, she's the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which you can catch Sunday nights right here on 89.7 at 6. She's also the host of Basic Black, that airs Friday at 7:30. You can also hear her Callie commentaries on Mondays for GBH's Morning Edition. And Sunday night, she was the winner of a Governor's Award at Mass Humanities. Congratulations.
That's right.
It was spectacular.
Thank you.
As was your speech, by the way. You were fabulous. You're really good.
It was a very impressive evening. Very impressive evening, Kelly.
Now, can we go from the high road to the low road?
Absolutely.
Before we start, during the break, Jamie, who's our lead producer, comes over and says, breathlessly, you heard about this divorce thing with Brady and Bündchen? And I said, yeah. And he said, so do you want to talk about it at the end of the show instead of what we were going to talk about? And I said, Jamie, there is nothing to talk about. At which point, a disembodied voice says, there is plenty to talk about. That was the voice of Callie Crossley.
Okay.
Callie, welcome to the show. Take it away, you two.
Yes, Marjorie.
Well, listen. You say what you want to say. I'm feeling a little bad, actually.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm going to let you
feeling a
have
little
the empathy. Now, I should frame this by saying, I am not a sports person. I don't really care. I like the personal stories.
Yes.
So here's a mantra that apparently Tom Brady never read. He read all those books. He read all those plays. Happy life, happy wife. What is the problem? What's the problem? Help me with that.
Yeah, well, you do kind of say if the two of them can't make it, how can anybody make it? Talk about every time you see them, you think, some people just come out of the womb perfect, I guess.
I don't know what the deal is. She was perfectly clear, right? I wasn't there, but that's what everybody says. Mm-hmm. Go back to football. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
What? Not believed? Is that what the story is? I can't
know.
get this.
And he said he was going to leave football, and then he turned around.
No, he did leave football for about 10 minutes.
That's right.
Which I think makes it worse.
I would agree with that.
It does make it worse.
Yeah.
But I feel kind of bad because, there's 3 children here.
Yeah.
So there's the one he had, which is with Bridget Moynihan, then the 2 he had with her. So now it's going to be the children breaking up the home. It's tough. It's a tough thing.
I do think that part is really bad, but I just think to myself, wow, this was supposed to be, you're supposed to walk off into the sunset. That's what you promised. That's what he himself said. He promised her that he hadn't.
Well, he is going to walk off into the sunset just by himself.
Yeah,
that's
exactly
right.
Yeah.
You notice he hasn't done that well this season, without Gisele to come home to, and she hasn't shown up at the games and all that
She
kind
took
of
her
thing.
ring off.
Took her ring off, that's right.
Yes.
And I don't think, having seen the picture of her in, what was it? Was it Harper's Bazaar or Vogue magazine when she was riding the motorcycle?
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to have any problem.
No, she doesn't.
Post Tom. The whole thing is just sort of
Can I ask you a question? I'm
depressing.
sorry to interrupt, but I got to talk to Jamie. Should we just cancel Gish Jen and the rest of the show?
No, Gish
and just
Jen is
stay
great.
with this? No,
Gish
really.
Jen is great.
Okay.
Yeah, but she'll just write another book. It's not.
So the question is, Does she have to pay him child support? Because I think she's got more money than he does.
She does have more money. Everyone cares.
Oh, everybody cares. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Kelly.
He could be the recipient of alimony.
I don't think so, because I think she's smarter than that.
You think so?
Yeah.
She is pretty smart, isn't she?
That's what I
So
think.
maybe that was part of it. They're not intellectually matched. Do you think that might have been the problem?
I don't know. I can't speculate that far.
I only feel, since I have to participate in this too, I shook his hand at that head shaving event to raise money for cancer at Granite Telecommunications. Didn't wash my hand for a week. So that's all we need to know.
I saw them in the theater once.
You did?
I did not recognize him because I recognized the two of them because of her. I said, wow, this is a stunning woman. Yeah, Chestnut Hill.
Boston?
Yeah, Chestnut Hill in the theater.
You did?
They came in very nicely, did not disrupt anything, and the staff was gracious to them, and they were really nice. They waited afterwards, and he did, sign stuff, and they were very gracious to everybody afterwards.
What was the movie?
Probably one of the Marvel ones, because this was pre-COVID. Because I like a fancy theater.
Brady can only understand the action movies.
That's the place. That's the place you can eat your dinner, eat your seats.
Well, have you heated seats?
Heated
and
seats.
you can eat your dinner, and you can have a cocktail.
Yeah,
and adult beverage.
It's very nice.
Done with that?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
We're moving on. Now,
excellent contribution.
We want to get your feelings about the other big story of the day, besides the divorce. There is the Elon Musk taking over Twitter. What do you think?
Well, again, he promised he was going to do it, so he's doing it. I mean, he laid off a whole bunch of, he just fired a bunch of the top executives, which he said he was going to do. What I hope that he said he was going to do but doesn't do is fire 75% of the staff. I've heard some analysts say that can't happen because it's such a huge company. It can't function. I mean, unless he has a whole team of people he's been training. That doesn't seem possible. But I've seen crazier things happen, and a lot of people think he's a little, unique in his approach to things. So we don't know what he's going to do. I mean, it makes sense, I suppose, that he would get rid of the top executives. That happens in other corporate.
Yeah, I'm not wildly upset about that.
Are you a big Twitter person?
No, not
Neither
really.
am I.
No,
I find it depressing.
No, it's interesting because TikTok I will go to for videos and stuff. I don't live on it, but I find that is more appealing to me than a Twitter situation. Now, a good Twitter thread, however, I have to say, is interesting because you get all these different takes from people.
So that's Jim. He loves the news feed, news feed part of it.
So it's really interesting.
So can we talk about
something? But the issue is, of course, is what he's going to do in the long haul.
Obviously. Kanye West is back on. He's only owned it for 12 hours.
Yes.
And Kanye West is back on, which I think is not a very optimistic start. Oz Fetterman, the debate the other night, obviously the Pennsylvania Senate race, most people think I subscribe to this notion. How that goes, it's the most likely Republican seat, the Republicans retiring to me, that could be taken by a Democrat. Many people think the control of the Senate will come out of that race in Pennsylvania. You watched the debate. I only watched excerpts. Describe, people have heard this a million times already, but describe since you saw Fetterman's
Well, I'm saying what
performance.
everybody else says. It was very difficult to watch. You felt as though he was not ready to do a debate. You could tell he was struggling with his answers. He made a lot of missteps. But I think following the debate, he's handled it kind of brilliantly and said that this is Fetterman, of course, and said that a lot of people fall down. I know you know what it means to fall down and get back up. I'm trying to get back up. This debate was never going to be easy for me. He's done one-on-one interviews before then and since then in which he's talking like fairly regularly. It was the difficulty of his understanding the questions, which you could see him trying to read the teleprompter because they put the questions up there because he said he needed that help. So I don't know. It may not hurt him as much as we thought. And of course, a lot of people in the disability community have said, hey, this shows how people are very intolerant of those with disabilities. So I don't know.
Particularly people with disabilities that have to do with communicating.
Yes.
That, physical disabilities, it's taken a long time to get there, but there's some better acceptance.
I agree with that.
But a communication disability people. And the assumption is from the disability community folks is that if you can't speak it, that has something to do with your intellect. And when every doctor in the world has said that it has nothing to do with his intellect, it has to do with his processing ability and the speed by which he can do it, which will change over time, but he's just not, at that point yet. So I think it could go either way. I've, been reading a lot of voters who said, I really admire his going through with it.
I do too.
And then some others say, I don't care. It was to be admired that he went through with it, but I'm really all about the control of the Senate, so I don't care what he does or Oz does. I want Oz.
It's kind of a Herschel Walker in reverse kind of thing. When Republicans say that in Georgia.
Except I don't think if you are a decent person who's undecided, or let's say leaning towards Fetterman, I don't think you're a bad person if you watch Fetterman and you have a concern. And I think Fetterman, in part, is responsible for it. Transparency was not what he practiced here. He released a letter early on from a cardiologist about his heart condition. He released a letter from his primary care physician saying he was healthy, but no medical records. And while I generally totally support privacy, when you want to be a United States Senator and you have a medical issue, you should be transparent. I think one of the reasons why people are so nervous when all of the neurologists whom I read said, don't be nervous, is that he's thinking fine and it's a temporary lingering effect that will go away.
So why isn't that good for you? That all of the neurologists you've read said,
that's
don't be
fine,
nervous.
but I think I would like to have the primary source disclosed, just like we've said about people like Trump and other people who've run for president. Let experts analyze what actually happened to an individual who's about to have great power. And I think people would be a lot more accepting of his situation had that been the case. And the biggest problem to me of what happened is because there is almost laser-like exclusive focus on how Oz spoke, there's almost no focus on what they said when they spoke. And here's the most important moment of the night. The topic was abortion. And listen to what Dr. Oz had to say about abortion.
As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves.
Women, doctors, and local political leaders. And by the way, a couple of comedians.
I think every woman should have to go to the city council.
Well, Marjorie, you're stepping on this woman's line. This woman who I never heard of, her name is Dara Faye, on Twitter, by the way, did a little response to the local politician thing. Here's a little bit of what she had to say about what she would do in the future based upon Dr. Oz's recommendations.
Instead of going to the ER when I think I've had ovarian cyst burst, I just show up at Gavin Newsom's door, see what he thinks the most appropriate treatment is. My period is like 2 days off schedule this month. Should I let Biden know? I'm gonna come in to get back on track. Like, where's Mike Garcia at? Yo, let's talk about my PMDD. I just feel like we should discuss the topic so that way I can go to my gynecologist with my local politicians' expertise.
Isn't that, that nails it. Isn't that exactly? Yeah. Virtually nobody knows about it because it's all Fetterman all the time.
The good thing for Fetterman is, I know it's a tight race and Oz may win, but he's such a word that your favorite word again, Jim, odious character.
Oz.
He was Oz.
Who doesn't even live in Pennsylvania.
Yes, and he was selling all this stuff on his TV show that was very suspect. A snake oil salesman. Just say he's so creepy. And remember he was doing the thing from the supermarket when he's talking about going to buy the crudités.
Yes.
He wanted to talk about inflation, and I think the best way to talk about inflation is to go talk about the crudités in the vegetable section. And he was stunned. I don't even think he knew how to buy the vegetables, that they come in bunches like broccoli or the big head of cauliflower.
Well, as Fetterman said at the time, we call them vegetables in Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
One last thing about this before we leave it. This also is something I saw on Twitter. A number of people who are as big a fan of Oprah Winfrey as the three of us are have said she has an obligation to speak out here. She helped create this monster, and she is so deeply respected that she has an obligation to condemn the monster that she helped create. Yeah. And I have to say, I am totally signed on to that perspective. What do you think?
Well, I think if she's not said anything now, she's not going to. I think that's pretty clear, right?
But don't you feel it would be the responsible thing to do?
They were asking her to say something back when it was proven that some of the stuff that he was promoting on his show was really not good. At that point, that is where I think she should have said, come on now. That's either not the Dr. Oz I knew, or this certainly is not something I subscribe to, or whatever. But for whatever, and maybe it's a legal situation for her. I don't know, but she didn't say anything then, so I don't think.
Well, 11 days to go is not too late for me. That's one person's
Yeah, I
vote.
also think that people are voting for Oz. Maybe Oprah's word wouldn't be that effective as it would be if people are voting for Fetterman.
Well, it's a really close race, and I
It's a
think
really close race.
she might have an impact. In any case, we're talking to Kelly Crossley.
Okay, so I'm really glad you wrote this column about the pink ribbons, because the pink ribbons drive me absolutely insane.
Drive me insane.
And this is, of course, for breast cancer awareness. Tell us what you had to say about the pink ribbons.
Well, every year for the last 6 years, I don't mind calling it a rant. I do my rant against the what is now known as Pinktober and pinkwashing. And pinkwashing simply is all of these corporate entities that are now very much a part of the fundraising effort and the leading of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Either put their name on everything and pink up everything, and then they give a paltry 1%, 5%, maybe 10% of the proceeds to the research. So that, enough of that. So my take this year is, let me be just really frank with you. Go through the list of people who are making the pink products and find the 100%ers. Ralph Lauren is a 100%er.
They are? He is?
Yes.
They are?
Bobby Brown is a 100%er.
Wow.
They have made specific products for Breast Cancer Awareness Month that happen to be pink, and 100% of the proceeds go to the breast cancer research. That's what I'm talking about. Or skip the product and give the money. But do not give the paltry thing, or as problematic as that is, do not get yourself out there, oh, we're so great, and behind the scenes you're cranking out cancer-causing products, putting those out in the, for people to buy, and don't talk about that because you're able to look like the good guy and the good girl because you're putting forth the pink products during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, I try every time I write this every year to make it clear that this is really personal to me.
You've had a lot of
I've
loss.
had a lot of loss and friends who have died from this. So I am not, just being a for no reason. This is really important stuff. Yes, these corporate entities have helped raise the level of awareness and have helped contribute to a lot of money toward research. But let's be careful about how we spend our money. We can spend our money and make a statement at the same time. And we can be careful about what products we want to support and what educational initiatives we want to support, and look carefully about who is sponsoring it and what they are doing in its entirety.
Jim and I do a fundraiser every year for a group called Silent Spring, and they do a lot of research
in
Newton, and they do a lot of research about chemicals
and greenwashing, no doubt.
Yes, and stuff you put on your hair or stuff that's underneath your sink that are maybe very seriously, very closely linked to breast cancer.
Right.
But there was this terrible story just a couple of days ago about uterine cancer, about the hair straightening products
that's right.
that a lot of black women use.
Yeah.
And were people aware of this? I certainly wasn't aware of this.
Oh.
I mean, that's what's really scary is that they may be saying, okay, we'll put our pink ribbon on. Meanwhile, what's on the back of the label in terms of ingredients, and what are the links of those between some bad diseases?
Right. And it was never to be this way. It was a grassroots campaign initially. I'm not saying not good to have a bigger campaign, but just let's be careful about who we choose to support in raising the level of awareness and who is likely not giving all the money to breast cancer research. 100%ers, find them, support them.
I want to follow up briefly, and you said people should check out Silent Spring Institute's website. It'll be a real guide about things, as you say, in your medicine cabinet, under the sink, deodorant. You don't even know the potential impact. They do a great job. Now, this is a hard transition to go from something that matters that much to something that I think probably matters to us too, but in a different way, the avocado scanner.
Yes.
Now, could you explain what it theoretically does and how excited you might be?
Let me just say this. You just don't get good news all the time.
You don't. That's right.
This is so exciting to me.
Very exciting.
I spend so much time looking at that avocado, trying to figure out. Now, the chefs say that if you get to the tip of it and the little stem has turned, like it turned a greenish, brownish color, that means it's right. But sometimes you pick it up and it doesn't feel like it has any give. They say ignore that. That means it's right. So you just have to go with it. So when I was making my famous guacamole for my book club, I went with it, and they were right. But it's hard. You're squinting at it in the store. You're looking at it. Is it really brown? Has it really turned? Whereas this thing, made by a company called Appeal, I love the title of the company.
How cute is that?
It's a scanner. So you take your avocado, you put it on the scanner, and it reads it for you, the level of ripeness. It even talks to you to say, ready for a salad, not ready for guacamole. I love this thing.
Wait, and it's more precise. If it says it's not ready, it says how many days until it's ripe. Does it get any better than that?
I know. Remember, I've tried everything to try to get.
So we can now retire the brown paper bags that we for decades.
Or the oven, the 20-minute oven thing.
The 20-minute oven thing.
I tried that. I know. There is nothing.
Explain that though. I don't know about that one.
So I told this to Jim ages ago. You put the avocado in the oven for 20 minutes, and it's supposed to ripen it up really fast.
Okay.
He claims it didn't work.
I didn't know that.
Didn't for me.
I knew about the brown paper
bag. But it's a pain. Let's face it. And it's 20 minutes from you and the guacamole.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a famous guacamole. That's addition to your famous deviled eggs, which I will never live down.
By the way, since we are having an avocado discussion, can I make one contribution here? For people who are concerned you make guacamole, mine is not famous, but I think fairly good, and you're concerned it goes brown overnight.
Yeah, I know.
If you put plastic wrap
really
against
tight.
Against the guacamole, and then seal that. Marjorie, don't look at me like that.
Yeah.
And then seal that.
It's true.
You will keep your guacamole bright green for at least a day or two.
Just a day. You don't get much longer.
What do you think of that, Marjorie?
Yeah.
Well, I thought, we're not supposed to be using that much plastic anymore, right? Maybe you put it in your Tupperware container, Jim, and
Doesn't
seal
do
it up.
it. No, Tupperware is not enough. You need
but
tight fit.
There are some tight containers that you can put it right down on top of it, and that works a little bit. But if you don't if it's right on top of it, like you say, it'll just go brown on you.
Okay, so what are you doing this weekend? I don't mean what are you doing this weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
Well, first of all, what I'm doing this weekend, I'll be right here at the Boston Public Library for the Boston Book Festival.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that just a few minutes. We're so excited.
All right, but on Under the Radar, what I'm doing this weekend, it's a full hour with Mass Politics Profs, and we're talking about how the confusing ballot questions wait a minute, are driving people to the polls. I didn't think about that. And having more interest, driving up voter interest, according to Secretary of State Tom Galvin, because people really are taking time to go over them because they're so confusing. So the voter interest is up on that.
Well, at least two of them are huge in terms of impact.
That is
the millionaire's tax and the driver's license for undocumented people are huge.
Right, and by the way, that last one, as you know, is not on some ballots, not in that voter guide. So so you go in the booth there, and you're like, "What is this?" I never saw this question.
It's a very good point, by the way, because it got on the ballot too late for it to be printed in the voter guide. It's a great
So we're doing
point.
that. We're doing the Bristol County Sheriff's race because there is actually a very good contender against Bristol County Sheriff, controversial.
Yeah, Paul Heroux.
No.
Yes, Paul Heroux is the
against Hodgson.
Is going against Hodgson. So that, and we're talking about election workers quitting everywhere. This is
These stories are
real
awful,
problem.
and the intimidation.
Yes.
That couple, the guys in the full tactical gear with their license plate numbers covered and their masks
that Arizona?
on.
Was that
Arizona?
It's a lot of
But
places.
it's all over the place.
It's really bad.
It is very scary.
And election workers have had it.
And Merrick Garland keeps saying the Department of Justice is going to do something about it. Well, what are they doing? I don't know. Are they out there?
I don't know.
The election voting has started.
Yeah,
right?
there's been such an increased effort to get younger people because lots of older people have carried on those roles. My parents did it for many years and loved it. I love to greet all the people I see in my place where I voted. By the way, I voted early. I'm loving early voting, which I didn't think I would, but I love it. And so this is of concern to me.
Before you go, let me say again, your speech the other night was beautiful. And I was sitting next to Marjorie. I know she feels the same way. It was really perfect. It was really beautiful. And congratulations again. Great to see you, Callie Crossley.
Thank you very much, Callie Crossley. We've been speaking with Callie Crossley. She's the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley. What do we call you now? A governor's what's your
Governor's Award Mass Humanities recipient or awardee, honoree,
a recipient, an awardee, and
you can just call me fabulous. Fabulous.
Call you fabulous. That's right. Fabulous Callie Crossley. Okay, she's what time are you going to be at the book fair tomorrow?
My session is at 2 or 3:30. No, 3:30.
Which venue?
I'm here in the Boston Public Library somewhere.
Okay, we'll find out by the time they join
I'm doing rom-com books. Come on now.
Rom-com books. Okay.
Come
Very
on now.
And if you don't want to hear about rom-com rom-com books, but of course, why not hear about rom-com books? We all like to be uplifted. You can catch her Sunday nights right here on 89.7 at 6 o'clock. She's also the host of Basic Black, which airs Friday night.
Actor Michael Imperioli is best known for his role as Christopher Moltisanti in The Sopranos, but he's ready to build a new HBO legacy with a lead role in The White Lotus.
Look, it's very hard to work as an actor, period. And it's even harder to create a character that people remember you for.
Imperioli's return to the spotlight this afternoon on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you and Fallon Health. Care and coverage to meet the unique and changing needs of all they serve. Care for your struggles, challenges, and triumphs. That's the kind of care Fallon Health believes in. And Skylark Vocal Ensemble, presenting a modern choral masterwork, Path of Miracles, this Thursday through Sunday in Sandwich, Cambridge, Newton, and Newburyport. Tickets at skylarkensemble.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marge Regan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Joined now by Irene Lee and Stephen Nuki Postal. We'll find out about that in a minute. For a Friday Restaurant Roundtable. Irene is a James Beard Award-winning chef and owner of Mamie Dumplings. It's opening its new location in South Boston this winter. Stephen Postal goes by Nuki. You do, correct?
100%. It's my professional name.
That is your professional name, okay. Is a chef and the owner of Commonwealth Cambridge and Revival Cafe and Kitchen. Great to see you both. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Can we get to what is the Nookie deal, if I may?
Oh my God, I don't know. We just met.
I know, but let's get it out of the way.
What is the deal? It's I really don't tell people where it came from.
Oh, good. So go ahead.
It's a little bit of mystery.
Yeah.
And it's just a name I got when I first started, and it just stuck.
Well, wait a second. That is totally unacceptable.
We like that. It's like Cher, Madonna, and I am Nookie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good enough for me.
You know what else Nookie told me?
What?
He looked at my filing system underneath the desk here.
Yeah, the piles
and he
of
said,
stuff.
He's a man after my own heart.
That's
He
beautiful.
understands exactly where I'm coming from, and he too loses everything.
Everything. Perfect.
There you go. So I have to tell you, Irene Lee, I'm so happy you're reopening a place in South Boston because you closed your place. It was near me. It was an American tragedy for all concerned. So tell us about your dumplings and about your new, I guess it's in January, so we have to wait a little while, but you're reopening in South Boston. Tell us.
Yes, so we are opening a dumpling factory in South Boston. We are so excited to be able to have a space where we can welcome people and host them in a dining room and, of course, produce tons and tons of dumplings. I've brought a couple for you all to try today.
I've already eaten some. They are unbelievable.
Thank you so much. And right now we're doing a little fundraising campaign to kind of push us over the finish line. We're on the local platform New Market, and so contributing to our campaign is like buying yourself a gift card for $120 for only $100. So there's a 20% bonus, and we are trying to raise $188,000 to finish up that project. It's going amazing. We're right at $80K, and we're about halfway through. And a lot of our contributors are going to be joining us on Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Dumpling Factory. Yeah, 58 Old Colony, and we are just we're so excited. And there may or may not be a certain person wearing a dumpling suit. So
why wouldn't there be?
Why
Before we
wouldn't there
leave this, you went too quickly over this. What's it called? What's in it?
New Market.
I had the guy who runs it. I think on TV, right? Was it? I don't know what was it. Mimi Maria Rondeau and
Yes,
Juan
from Celeste.
Calderon
Yeah.
from Celeste that obviously opened the Royal in West Cambridge. This is brilliant. The concept is brilliant. Again, say it again. Someone invests $100, and not only they help you get off the ground, but they get a guaranteed something in return.
Yes, they get $120 in credits. So it's just a pre-purchase. So if you know that you are going to eat a ton of ceviche, you contribute to Celeste and you get a little bonus on top. And in addition to that, next week we're going to be announcing Maymay and the Dumpling Factory's Golden Ticket Giveaway. So that's a little something on top. So
That's Nuki making these noises in the background, by the way. I want to be clear. Go ahead.
So one lucky fan is going to win a year of dumplings, and all the details are going to come out next week, so please follow us online, follow us on Facebook.
How do we follow you online?
Subscribe to the newsletter. All the info is at maymaydumplings.com. That's MEIMEI dumplings.
And you're doing classes too. We'll get back to that in a minute. For people who aren't familiar with Revival or Commonwealth, tell us what your deal is, Nuki.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually just thinking, I'm just picturing myself as like a Veruca Salt, like opening as many dumpling packages as I can to get the golden ticket.
Yes.
I'm like, I need more dumplings.
By the
I
way,
want that
thank
golden
you
ticket.
for getting dressed up for the show.
Of course. I thought it was radio. And
Look who's talking.
Yes.
Do you want to wear my dumpling scrunchie?
Thank you.
So tell us about your places.
Yeah, sure. So Revival Cafe, we have 3 locations currently. We're in Alewife in Cambridge, we're in Davis Square in Somerville, and we're right around the corner on Newbury Street. And I've got Commonwealth, which is in Kendall Square. It's been around about 10 years, which is about how long we've known each other now.
Yep, exactly.
Well, tell us about Commonwealth. I told you my kid is is helping pay your mortgage or whatever you got.
Yeah, I've got it all.
Tell us.
Yeah, Commonwealth, where it's a farm-to-table restaurant. We do a lot of events. Kendall Square, it's a very unique area, and it has changed significantly since the pandemic. But it's going well. We do a ton of events. We do a ton of weddings, which has been great.
Beautiful space.
It's a beautiful space. It works really. I never in a million years did I ever imagine anyone get married there, but.
But you're kind of doing 2 very, very different things. I mean, you've got Axios.com, local Boston, which is a very good website, by the way, called an upscale option in Dunkin' Time. I mean, it's a coffee shop with food, right?
Exactly.
And that's very different. It is much more aesthetically pleasing, let's put it that way, than Dunkin' Donuts. But then you're doing this high-end restaurant too, so it's 2 very different.
Yeah, I started with the restaurant, and then as my life kind of evolved, and I have three small kids. Well, they're not so small anymore, but the late nights are challenging, and I partnered up with Liza Shirazi of Crema Cafe in Harvard Square, and I was drawn to the cafe world for the hours. Early morning, we're done at 3 o'clock. And that works well for my family life.
Now, are any of the kids named Nuki Jr., or is that yet to come? What's the deal?
No Nuki Jr.
Not yet.
As interested as we are in the food, and we're going to taste both the food and the baked things you brought in a second. A lot of dumplings from.
They're
how
really
are the dumplings,
great.
by the way?
Oh my God, they're unbelievable.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, Irene was here a couple of months ago after she won the James Beard Lifetime whatever. For the youngest person ever to win it, people like Michelle Obama have won it, and she won it for essentially being beyond the great chef she is, for doing incredible things in the community. You went to Poland with Jose Andres and did to essentially help Ukrainians in exile. Can you tell us
exactly? Yeah.
Tell us why you did it first before you tell us what the experience was like.
Well, I guess why I did it was I was so upset and disappointed in our government, our federal government, and how they treated small independent restaurants through the pandemic, and they're just completely left us out on the dry with the RRF that didn't get refilled. And they. Hey,
by the way, what I think you mean is some restaurants got it, but a lot of restaurants
30% got funded and 70% got nothing. Yeah. And I was just so with the whole country and the government, and the more I learned about it, the worse it became. And so I saw this invasion happened, and I was like, I'm going. These people, they had nowhere to go. They had.
You literally picked up, and we've spoken. You literally picked up and went.
Yeah, and at that point, it was very, very early, and there was an address like go here, and the World Central Kitchen. What an amazing organization! I mean.
So what you do when you got there? That's Jose Andres for those who don't know.
Yeah, when I got there, we cooked. We cooked as much as we possibly could. However much food we could produce is how much would go out. The demand was so high. We would get there at 4 in the morning, and we would cook as much as we could until 8 or 9 at night, and then we would do it again the next day.
How'd that feel?
it felt nice. I mean, I saw some not so great things. It was a really challenging yet rewarding experience, and everybody who was there, and there were people from all over the world.
I know, it's amazing.
They were all there for the same exact purpose, and it felt good, and it still does feel good.
I always wondered, how do you organize the food coming in there? How does that happen?
I mean, it was the logistics of getting the food in there, getting the food out. Where is it going? I mean, all of it is an incredible achievement, and they built this out of nothing in a war zone.
So, since you sound like a fairly insightful, serious guy, I have a question for you.
Fairly insightful.
If you were to win, let's say, a James Beard Award,
okay, that'll never happen.
Would you be as arrogant as to wear it around your neck in public? Would you?
Oh my God, you're wearing it? She's wearing it?
Irene, stand up so people can see.
I did it for you.
Oh my
Here's
God.
Irene
I did it.
Lee
Here we go.
wearing her James Beard Award.
My
Let's hear
God.
it.
Congratulations.
Irene
That is an
really
impressive
humiliated
I wore it
herself.
as a thank you
It's
because
just-
Nookie first introduced me to the James Beard Foundation about
that
10
true?
years ago. Yep, we did a
story.
soft shell crab dinner that he does every year. He invites different chefs. And that year in particular was memorable because we had a guest who was allergic to shellfish. So I remember that very fondly. But anyway.
They probably didn't even tell us until right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't even notice how great your shirt is. Is that your shirt?
Yes,
like
this is a Maymay shirt.
That is great.
Lots of dumpling shapes
like
on
Dumpling
it.
City on there, yeah.
So let's talk about the state of the restaurant business.
Well, can we eat first for 1 second?
Oh yeah, I've been eating.
Are these all
You can
different
go
kinds
ahead
of
and eat,
dumplings?
and I'll
Tell
talk.
us about let her. Irene, what's the deal with the dumplings?
Yes, so we have our best seller, which is our lemongrass pork dumpling. We have a cheddar scallion potato dumpling, which I call our love letter to the pierogi. We have a mushroom and tofu dumpling made with 5-spice tofu from Changxing Tofu Company over in Cambridge, one of our favorite products. And then we have our seasonal special, the cumin lamb dumpling.
Ooh.
And that is just going to be around for a couple more weeks. So
Favorite spice, cumin, by the way. Not that that should determine your decision making, but it is my favorite.
And even
spice.
though the restaurant is not opening until January, you can buy these right now, right?
That's correct. You
How do
can
you buy
buy them at a number of farmers markets around the Boston area and also at our headquarters at 506 Park Drive in Boston, and then soon at the Dumpling Factory in Southie.
Great.
Okay. Isn't 506 Park Drive where you used? Where was your restaurant?
Yep. So that's
Right where the restaurant was. Okay.
our old headquarters, soon to be old headquarters. Yeah.
So, tell us about the restaurant business in general in Boston. We've heard it's much more expensive now because of inflation, and people are not able to get.
Nookie's doing a thumbs down kind of thing.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with him?
Yeah, go ahead, Nookie.
I mean, it's challenging. It's been, you go to the grocery store and people are like, oh my God, things are so expensive. Imagine like your whole entire business based around that. I mean, I went to buy Halloween candy yesterday. It used to be $5 a bag. They're now $9 a bag.
Smaller too, by the way.
Smaller too. Yes, exactly. That is basically what we're dealing with in a nutshell.
Yep. And we're also dealing with so many things that are not truly the core substance of running a restaurant
What do you
business.
mean?
For example, Nookie has been fighting these cement barrier blockades.
Yeah, like this is what I did this morning. Like, so when COVID hit, I felt like all of the local governments were like, how can we help? What can we do? And now it's like, okay, we're back to regular schedule program. You gotta, they're all over us. You have to get these cement barriers for the street patios because you don't want people to get run over by cars. They were hard to get. I bought mine at Newberry, $2,500 to buy them, $2,300 to rent them. We had to get them, so I bought them. Like if I could buy them for $25, now I can't get rid of them. If you want to get rid of them, it's like $5,000 to get rid of them.
Oh my God.
And mandated by the city of Boston to get them, and you call them and say, I can't even get anyone to pick them up. And they're like, you got to get rid of them. And I'm like, okay, what's the fine?
So you're obviously not happy with the federal government, you're not happy with local government. This
All
is
of
Nookie I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Tell us what, for next time Mayor Wu's here, and Governor Baker will still be governor in November. He'll be back, and the next governor, we assume, will be with us monthly too. What do you want them to do concretely that they're not doing to support independent restaurant businesses like yours?
I mean, I just think that they need to be like they were when the pandemic hit. Like, understand, like, we are not making tons of money. We're out there grinding day in and day out, and they're doing what it seems in their power to make it so difficult now. We are up against so many obstacles between food and everything. Rents are rising, and it's just some more support would be nice. Like, don't just lump us in with, this is just the way it is, sorry.
Yeah, the red tape bureaucracy kind of stuff. Let me ask you a stupid question. How do you get rid of those big cement things?
I don't know. We're on the radio here.
I think we're going to find out.
Yeah,
1-800-JUNK or something?
Yeah, anybody know how? But I don't want to, I bought them, and now I don't know where to put them. And
aren't you going to have some outdoor dining going forward?
I mean, yeah, I would like to use them next year, but I think I'm just going to leave them there and maybe pay the fine. Is cheaper than actually getting them removed.
What's the problem with leaving them there?
Oh, they can't. The city, November 15th, get rid of them.
Wow. That does seem a little harsh.
For whatever it's worth, we will bring this up with Mayor Wu, because I'm assuming you're not alone. In that
everyone on the street is calling the same people.
So is opening a new joint a difficult thing, other than the financing, which apparently is going relatively well? Is opening a new place been as problematic as operating Revival and Commonwealth have been here for Nookie?
It's been challenging for sure. I mean, our timelines have gotten way pushed back. There was an electrical panel that we were waiting for that finally shipped yesterday, and we were all cheering over that, which is not a scenario I ever envisioned for myself. But, we have been privileged to be able to make this move more into manufacturing and to kind of cut down on the restaurant operations side of things, which, similar to Nookie's move to the coffee shop model, that's going to help us simplify a lot.
Are you going to be, I said before, I don't think you mentioned this, but I think it's true, you're going to be doing some courses, some training and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So in the dumpling factory, the cafe dining room area will double as a classroom, and so we will be able to continue our dumpling classes, which are just the most fun activity of all time. We kind of model them after our favorite childhood memories when everyone would come over for Lunar New Year, big bowl of filling in the middle, and then we'd all make dumplings and tell jokes and make fun of each other.
I'm a terrible dumpling maker.
That's okay,
I've got
Nikki.
sausage fingers.
It's what's on the inside that counts.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of life lessons in dumpling making.
And you mean with the dumpling?
Yes.
I thought you meant the person.
No, both, absolutely.
Okay.
And so we're really looking forward to being able to create that atmosphere with people coming together and cooking.
Okay, enough spiritual discussion. What did you bring here, Nookie?
Oh,
What's
I got a
the
bunch
deal?
of stuff.
What are they?
We got some granola bars, pumpkin chocolate chip bread, chocolate chip cookies,
God.
double chocolate. Oh, and these are candy corn blondies.
Let me tell you something. Let me just be clear to you. The
Blondies.
notion that a candy corn blondie is ever going to cross my lips is somewhere close to never.
I don't know,
good for you.
Jim.
Can I have that pumpkin chocolate chip deal?
Yeah. Pumpkin
Thank you
chocolate
very
chip
much.
bread. We got, these are gluten-free raspberry almond cakes.
And every Friday,
every Friday.
Revival
Yes.
does a fried chicken sandwich.
Yes, today is wild.
Oh my gosh. And Nookie makes these incredible
Where's
videos
the fried
on
chicken
Instagram.
sandwich?
You'll have to go over there after the
every
show,
Friday.
Jim.
2 blocks away, Jim.
Can I tell you something? This is really, really good.
Amazing.
It's
Thank you.
No, I said it. It's great. It's
Thank
really
you.
good.
So, Nookie, the other thing
Yes.
that you always hear all the time is it's really difficult now to get help in the restaurant business. What's that about?
It's staffing has been challenging. Knock on wood. I don't know if this is wood, but I feel I think we do a really good job at Revival on treating our people really well. We offer really good benefits. We do as much as we can for our employees, and for that, I feel our staffing is pretty good. I don't have the same struggles that a lot of other people have, but it's challenging. I mean, for sure.
Do you think, beyond the government thing, Irene, I have to say, for people who listen to the show know that I've said it only about 1,000 times, the most fun thing in my life is going out to a restaurant, an independent restaurant, neighborhood restaurant, somebody who, has been struggling and doing great things. So government has fallen short. Have we fallen short? Have customers fallen short too? I mean, but, some of the stories you've heard about how intolerant people are about slower service for fairly
James
obvious
Gordon
reasons.
throwing a fit at that
that's
restaurant in New York.
But beyond that, are tips what they should be? Are people treating servers as well as they should be? Are people, even though prices are going up in some places, we all say great things about places like yours. Do we go to places like, and what's the deal?
Well, I think most guests are being just as wonderful as before, if not even more so. But I think that we are facing a bigger conversation about what the value of food is. And a restaurant isn't going to be able to offer better benefits or better pay if we can't charge what we need to charge for food. And I think that for the consumer, understanding what that dynamic is really makes a difference, because you can go to a really nice restaurant and order a $25 plate of pasta, and then you look at the plate and you say, I could have gone to the grocery store and made that for $5. And you'd be right. That's how the restaurant industry works, right? But the other $20 doesn't go into Nookie's pocket. It pays for everything else you see in the restaurant. My favorite thing to talk about is the toilet paper in the bathroom, right? Because you get it for free. We don't charge you to use the toilet paper in our bathrooms.
That is really good of you.
You could probably nab a roll if you wanted to. Please don't. Not right now.
People do.
People do
steal toilet paper?
All
Oh
the
my
time.
God.
People steal anything that's not locked down.
That's
really?
right.
Yes.
And so
paper towels?
This guy is my kind of guy. Let me tell you. I don't know him, but I love him.
Sometimes the silverwares can be tempting. I've been
People-
big time.
Take the silverware. I'm sure they do, right?
An example, Commonwealth, I get these really cool, do you remember these old etched glasses you would get from like McDonald's
Gone.
and Mobil?
Gone.
I have bought over 2,000 of those over 10 years that I scrounge around in antique flea markets, all stolen.
Have you contemplated going to the
my
Middlesex
God.
DA and see if we can get a couple of people prosecuted, and that will probably deter that behavior in the
when
future?
they take them, when they drink them at home, they think about Commonwealth, and it's kind of like some sort of advertising. That's how I get
yeah,
myself
and now
to
would
go
be
to
a great
sleep.
time for them to book their next party at Commonwealth.
Exactly.
Can you hand me one of those chocolate chip cookies while we're
Yes,
finishing
of
up
course.
this
it's a bad
discussion?
sign.
Thank you.
Feel
very
free to
much.
go for those
Go out
candy
to
corn
dinner.
blondie,
I don't
candy
think
corn
so, but
brownie.
go ahead.
That you're stealing toilet paper. That does seem to be a little bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, some people stole it during the pandemic, I know, because of the shortage of toilet paper.
Raise your right hand and say you never took a roll of toilet paper from GBH during the pandemic.
I did take a roll of
Well,
toilet
so did
paper.
I. So what are you so surprised
But that's
about?
different than going out to dinner and taking it at a restaurant when the restaurant is open and you're paying whatever you're paying,
That's
$50,
right.
$100. It seems a little much. We were in a toilet paper panic. Don't you remember, Jim?
I remember it quite well.
From coast
Oh, yeah.
to coast. Yeah, it was
a panic.
It was a.
And so the point is that
What
we
is it?
would
Oh.
love for diners to think more big picture, more expansively about what it is they pay for when they go out to eat. There's so many things that you're not thinking about as a diner because we are trying to take care of it for you. We are trying to make
We
sure
don't
that
want
you
you
get
to think about that.
Exactly.
But can I tell you,
we're
I
getting to
read-
a point where
I think you're on the wrong track, if I may, considering the business. I don't think it's to convince people you're not just paying for the pasta, you're paying for the toilet paper. I think the thing is, the reason you go to a restaurant is not just to have a meal. You go to a restaurant for the whole shtick. I mean, the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's an experience, to
Yes.
use our friend Michael Norton from
That's
Harvard
right.
Business School
It's
thing.
experience.
Is people prefer experiences to things.
that's right. And an experience is made up of tiny little things
Like toilet paper.
that
all
cost
cost
money.
money.
Exactly.
You're right about that. Exactly right.
So what do you think about people like James Gordon that went in and started screaming because
Not
there was-
James Gordon.
James Corden.
Corden.
I meant to say Corden.
I don't
James
think about
Corden.
him at all.
You don't think about him at all? People don't know.
0% do I think about him.
Okay, so apparently his wife orders a egg yolk omelet. I've never heard of that. I've heard of egg
just
white
egg yolks. I
omelets.
like
I've never
that.
heard of egg yolk omelet, but I guess there was a little piece of egg white in the egg yolk
And he went
omelet.
nuts.
And he went crazy and demanded another one and different drinks and free drinks and all this kind of stuff. I mean, that's unusual, I would presume.
It's unusual, but it also would surprise you how many people think that the restaurant is designed to be specifically entirely for them.
Yeah.
They have a certain need, and we do our best to accommodate. Like, we want people to be happy. The last thing we want is for someone to walk out the door
Yeah,
feeling
that's not
bad
what we're
about their
trying to do.
experience. But it's
Yeah.
hard.
Okay, I have one question for each of you. Your sneak peek thing on Sunday, can real people come or you got to be a contributor to the
So you have to be a contributor.
And where do you do that again?
So you can go to newmarket.co, or you can visit our website at Maymay Dumplings to learn how to make a contribution and then come to our party on Sunday, and somebody may or may not be wearing a dumpling outfit. And then we will be sharing more details next week. So please follow along, and we hope that you win a year's worth of dumplings.
And again, every
A dumpling-
$100 you invest, you got $120 back when the place opens in terms of meal, product,
I think
etc.
that's a challenge, a dumpling outfit. That would not be easy
Okay,
to
so
do.
Nuki,
We've
here's
been
my
prototyping for a while.
here's my last thing for you. Since you seem to be as aggravated about everything as I am,
Everything.
I want you to end with something you feel really positive about.
Oh
Go ahead.
my God.
Go ahead. You have all the time you need.
I'm excited about, I guess I'm excited a little bit about the future. I think Revival's doing really well. And
You have a new project?
I have a new project. We're opening a Mothership, which will be in
Oh.
Alewife, Cambridge, a
great.
new restaurant. That should be opening in around 6 months or so. And the future for Revival is really bright. And we have a lot of great people that work for us.
Well, that's
and
good.
I'm excited about
Now, how do you feel about the fact that democracy is likely to end on November 8th? Does that bother you, or are
I'd
you
say,
okay with that too?
I'd say it's already over.
Well, exactly. Thank you. Hey, it was
Okay.
great to see you both. The baked things or the pastries were fabulous.
Don't
The
sleep on
dumplings
that candy corn.
Are so
Candy
real.
corn.
I honestly, we're going to talk about candy corn at the end of the show. I'm going to take a taste of that before the day is over, and I'll be in touch.
Amazing.
Nuki, Irene, it's
Thank
great to see you both.
Very,
Thanks so
very
much.
much for
Appreciate
coming,
it.
and thank you very much much for coming, bearing food. It means a lot to us, particularly to Jim.
Dumplings are
Irene
fabulous.
Lee is a James Beard Award-winning chef and owner of May Dumplings, which is opening its new location in South Boston in January, I believe. And Stephen Postal, who goes by Nookie, is a chef and owner of the Commonwealth Cambridge and Revival Cafe and Kitchen. We thank you both again for coming in.
Thank you both. We appreciate it.
Coming up, after 2 years of virtual gatherings, the Boston Book Festival is making its long-awaited return to Copley Square this weekend. Some people from GBH are going to be featured, a lot of tremendous authors. One of them is going to be with us in just a couple of minutes. Gish Jen, we're so thrilled to talk to her. Listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting from the Boston Public Library, and we are streaming live on youtube.com/GBH News. Got that right. Took me a while. I got it right. Yes, I did.
When politics is local, trusted local news.
Local government is the heart of our democracy.
Politics editor Peter Katsas.
Social media has sort of homogenized politics, and the big national headlines tend to dominate. Very often, what matters to the local communities increasingly gets lost in the news. So covering local government is one of the most important things GBH News can do.
The GBH News Politics Team.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And the Huntington. You can celebrate the legacy of playwright August Wilson and the grand reopening of the beautifully restored Huntington Theater with Joe Turner's Come and Gone, playing now through November 13th. Tickets at huntingtontheater.org. And Delta Dental of Massachusetts. Good oral health is known to protect you from heart disease, depression, and more. You can discover the connection between oral and overall health at expressyourhealthma.org.
Trusted. Local. News. This is 89.7 WGBH, WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. Boston's local NPR.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. After 2 years of virtual gatherings, the Boston Book Festival is making its long-awaited return to Copley Square, including the library this weekend. Here to join us to discuss this year's festival is the founding director of it all, Deborah Porter. Deborah, it's great to see you.
Thanks for
having me. And headlining author. I have to say, I'm excited that she's here. Marjorie is practically vibrating. We're joined by Gish Jen. Gish's latest book is Thank You, Mr. Nixon. By the way, I ordered it last night, I should say. Deborah, Gish, it's great to see you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Yes, so thank you so much for coming in. So let's start with you, Deborah. What is going to go on this weekend? What are the highlights?
We have almost 200 presenters coming tomorrow.
Wow.
In venues all over Copley Square, the library, as you mentioned, Old South Church, Church of the Covenant, the Boston Architectural College, the Goethe Institute, and they'll be talking about their book. The authors will be talking about their books, which will range in genre from literary fiction to mystery and sci-fi and romance, with a variety of nonfiction and memoir, just a really broad range of topics, and including things for kids and teens, lots of programming.
Before we ask Gish why she decided she wanted to participate, let me ask the first stupid question of this interview. Why is the response amongst authors as colossal as it is? Is there this pent-up pandemic deal? You're nodding. Yes, it is. It's part of the deal.
Well, I mean, it was really tragic for a lot of authors to have come out with books in the last 2 years and not to be able to do any live events. Because, we did a virtual festival, and the first year in particular was very well attended. And I know from my bookstore owning friends, they did a lot of virtual events, but people don't buy books at those events.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a live event for that.
So Gish, why'd you decide this is important for you to be at?
Well, because all my friends are going to be there. Starting with Deb, right?
Exactly.
Also, I have to say that, I love Boston. Boston is the big book town, and this is the moment where we really get to feel it, I mean, I have to say it starts with, if I may say so, the support that we get from the public radio crowd. I mean, if you look at who's actually going to be there, it is amazing how well represented you are. Now, I will point out that neither one of you is doing a panel.
Which, by the way, to say we are deeply offended is no.
Yeah, we're
going to be there, though.
But before we go any further, we just have to give the big shout out here to Gish Jen. We're talking all the books you've read: Typical American, Mona and the Promised Land, The Loved Wife, World in Town. You got a brand new one. That was just a few of them. You got a brand new one, thanking Richard Nixon, who I guess is in hell in your iteration. And you also got the best short story of the Century Award from none other than John Updike.
Local boy.
Yes, for Birthmates, which is kind of a sad story.
Yeah.
But
I'm invested in making short stories again this year, It's coming out next week.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I also loved, if we would just talk a little bit about your life. I mean, you did not start out as a writer. You were at Stanford Business School when you decided to forget about all that. Your mother didn't talk to you for a year. You were disowned by your family. And you wound up at the Iowa's Writers Workshop. I mean, tell us about how you wound up doing what you've done.
Well, I have to say, I mean, before I went to business school, also I was pre-med and pre-law. So I became a writer by process of elimination. and I say that really, this is not the recommended route. Let me just tell you.
Yes.
So I really, when everybody says, "Well, how did you do it?" I said, "Well, don't do it the way I did it."
Well, didn't your future husband have to tell you what to answer on the test? Wasn't that how it worked?
Actually, he was really great. I mean, my husband was great in so many ways. I'll just give you one little snippet of how he supported me over these years. But I was kind of a nice girl. I thought I should do everything right, and when we got married, we were given like incredible amounts of silverware, crystal, all these things that we would never ever use. And I dutifully packed everything up and brought them all to the West Coast. We were moving, and then it was time to move them all back. And he could see that I was spending my whole life doing these things. And I still remember the moment where I'm starting to pack all this stuff up. He opened the window, he took one of the glasses, and he threw it out.
I love it.
And after that we had the world's largest garage sale, and that was and it was never looked back. There is a way that he paved the way for me. But let me just sort of say, I am not here to talk about myself.
Well, I
am here to talk about the book festival.
Okay.
And I want to talk about all the other people who are coming. And, of course, some of the people are coming from out of town. I mean, we do have Marie Myung-Oki Lee coming from New York and Ian Lee coming from Princeton. It's not all Boston people, but we are here to show them what Boston is. And I really do have to say that, I myself, when I looked at the schedule, I was very, very, very touched to see Meghna Chakrabarty and Jeremy Siegel and Callie Crossley and Susanna Deering and Bill Littlefield even, all in the lineup, and I have to take my hat off too. I was just asking Deb, who did the programming? Because the topics are incredible. The nonfiction topics, there's a lot of topical topics. We have free speech, we have the body in the post-road world, we have the past that's not past, we have the rights of
Do you remember free speech and how great it was too, by the way? Wasn't that great, that free speech thing?
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, we loved it while it lasted.
Really good. Yeah.
Really, no kidding. No kidding. Banned books, right? They're going to talk about banned books. But it's all this stuff, but it's also, the topics. Like, who writes the topics, Deb? Do you know what I mean? Like, who comes up with these things like writing a novel in a language you barely speak? Who comes
Do you want to answer your PR person's question, Deb, or what's the deal here?
Who comes up with these topics, Deb?
We have committees that work on this. We have a children's committee and a teen committee and a fiction committee and a nonfiction committee, and a lot of that work is done by those committees.
Yeah, and are a lot of the radio people involved? Because it feels like they're very canny.
No, the radio people don't get involved until right before the festival.
Wow.
I don't find them that canny, actually, at all. Deborah, can we talk about this event just for a second?
Yeah.
More here, as Gish would like us to do. Tonight is the keynote, correct? Is that the deal?
It's the kickoff keynote. We have a number of keynotes.
What time is that, and where is that?
It's at 7:30 at Old South Church Sanctuary, and it's Patrick Radden Keefe, who's big book was Empire of Pain.
One of the greatest books
about the Sacklers
ever.
and opioids.
Yeah.
And he also wrote a great book, Say Nothing, A True Story of Murder and Memory in Northern Ireland, so brilliantly, where he had the daughter of revolutionary versus a terrible tragedy of a mother of 10 who was murdered by the IRA, juxtaposes their two lives. And he's a wonderful, wonderful writer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then the thing starts in earnest tomorrow when the zillions of workshops are in numerous, I think you said this, numerous jurisdictions in and around Copley, correct?
Right.
How do people find, first of all, this is free, right?
It's all free.
Free is a really good thing.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
I agree.
You would agree. Good. And how do people find out which workshop that Gish is brilliantly promoting, which workshop, which set of authors they can find at which location at which time?
We think of them more as panels and presentations than workshops, but they can go to our website, bostonbookfest.org.
Fest, okay.
And also when they arrive, we have a beautifully produced program guide, which has it all on paper, the schedule grid and session descriptions and times and everything.
You know, you mentioned a minute ago that one of the reasons you thought you got such an incredible array of authors is because of this pent-up pandemic deal. But I haven't read anything on this, but I'm assuming that people read a lot more during the pandemic as well, which creates yet another appetite. I assume there's evidence that confirms that, yes?
Absolutely.
Gish, you're saying that. Do you know that, or you just assume
Yeah, that people read more?
Yeah.
Yes, book sales are up. Thank God. And now we're hoping to keep them up. Because the fact is, I think it's not just writers. I mean, I think everybody kind of had a reset during the pandemic, right? And I think we all sort of think, what are our real priorities? And actually, when we have a little more time, what do we like to do with ourselves?
Yeah. Read.
And, I think a lot of people discovered that they actually love books and that they missed books. And now that we're commenting the same way, people are like, well, what does this new world look like? I think a lot of people are looking for a way to keep books as part of the mix. And I think that's why the festival is so important.
And you can also, I would imagine a lot of people that are coming this weekend are aspiring writers. I mean, they could be people that, you get a young adult section. We have Meredith Goldstein now with us from the Globe. She writes these great young adult books. We had a comic book a comic book novel that she was featured in that she was here talking about a couple of weeks ago. So people that want to get into this business.
Absolutely. I think we have a lot of aspiring writers who show up.
And part of that's what the panels and discussion is going to be about, is how you do it.
We've done panels in the past about that. I would not say that that's the emphasis.
Yeah.
It's really about the authors and the books they've written, and not so much about here's how you get into publishing. It's not so much.
So they can't go up after and buttonhole the author. And
I didn't say that.
Give me a tip.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, because I think that's a lot. I think people do wonder, about you going from business school to being a writer, how it happens for people and how they get books published. Memoirs have become huge too in recent years. What's that about?
I don't know, but it's the whole category of writing a memoir that's also about something else. For me, my life in Middlemarch was a great example where, the book is presumably about, George Eliot and Middlemarch, but it's really about the author and her journey to becoming a writer. And that's a huge, huge category now in publishing.
Yeah, and now as a fellow writer, you have to mention her name. It's just Pamela Ahrens.
Yeah.
So that people can go find the book. I think that's really true. I think that there is some how-to in this, or it's not how-to exactly, but Kate Tuttle is going to talk about book reviews. What really goes on, how do they decide?
That's a great idea.
The inside workings of the Globe book section, which we all want to know. And there are things. There's one about tweaking. What is the name of it?
There are, if you look, there are definitely opportunities for people who are aspiring writers. Absolutely.
And people will ask questions, and they're just sort of saying they aren't necessarily asking exactly how do you do it, but they are looking for perspective. How did how did Ian Lee come to write a book about French girls?
Yeah,
I mean, her book is about girls in the French countryside, who hit it big as writers. Actually, of course, this book is also about writing. It's about the making of literary reputation. It's about a lot of other things. And so just by virtue of her talking about her book, aspiring writers, of course, will learn a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to reintroduce everybody. We're talking with Deborah Porter, who's the founding director of the Boston Book Festival, and also, of course, talking with Gish Jen, a famed writer of both fiction and nonfiction. So Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I
before
do.
go ahead?
You mentioned book reviews a minute ago, and we've had this discussion on the show about other art forms. For example, years and years ago, this discussion started when we had Frank Rich on when he had just finished being the Butcher of Broadway, where one review by Frank Rich in the New York Times, and he admits that's where he got the nickname, could shut down a play where people had worked their hearts out for years and spent millions of dollars. 2 weeks ago, when the Globe decided to reintroduce their restaurant reviews, the decision by the editors, Endeavor First, the food editor, was we're only going to write 5-star reviews for the first 5 weeks. Only the best 5 restaurants, no negative. We talked to Corby Kummer, a food writer at The Atlantic and elsewhere, about whether or not there should be negative reviews or we should ignore those. Only. How about books? Should we only hear from people who liked a particular work as opposed to an individual, not a committee, an individual at the Times, the Globe, whatever, who could probably kill the work that someone like you decided to put 2 years of your life into?
Well, obviously, any critic who is out to kill me in my book should not be writing.
No, I don't mean no, but Gish, I don't
Exactly.
mean I don't mean intentionally.
Yeah, I know. So I actually think, of course, my heart is always with the writer. But finally, our job is to tell it like it is. So I guess look, if you don't like a book, don't review it. For instance, if I'm given something and I really don't like it, and I mean I don't like the first sentence, I don't like the last sentence, and I don't like anything in between. To me, I just feel like give it to somebody else.
Well, that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, give it to somebody else. Why should I write that review? It's not helpful. Also, because the truth of the matter is, even if I dislike everything about the book. I mean, short of its being Mein Kampf,
Or The Art of the Deal, same sort of thing.
There's probably somebody out there who actually, for whom this is a wonderful book. Mm-hmm. So why don't they find a reviewer who sees it like that reader?
I'm with you.
So, Deborah Porter, what do people think in the industry about, Kindle, audiobooks versus books in your hand? Does it really matter as long as it's being absorbed in some way?
It depends who you ask, but I think in the publishing industry, no one cares anymore as long as you read the book.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of evidence that people don't retain information the same way on a device as on a
good.
on
Thank you, because I don't.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to know because we're a certain generation. That's hard to say. But I will say that having been in the classroom, if you say to the students, like, okay, read the story, and then you sort of say, okay, at what point did the angel realize blah 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 blah, and the answer is the people who can answer the question are always the people who read it on paper.
That's right.
It is a different process. You should really talk to Marianne Wolfe, who wrote Proust and the Squid, in The Reading Brain.
Why?
Because she's the expert on the subject.
And what'd she say?
And she says that it's not the same thing.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's not the same activity. Your brain doesn't fire in the same way. It's not as deep an experience, and therefore it doesn't stay with you. So I think that, I think that it's not either or. I think that, honestly, some books maybe we don't really need, them to stay with us the way we want the Magic Mountain to stay with us. You know? So, it's okay. I think it's great that people are listening to books as well, but it shouldn't be instead of reading. It should be in addition to
Can't take
reading.
notes either.
Yeah,
but I do like listening to them in the car. It's really nice, especially when someone has a nice voice. We said this years ago. I never expected much of Michelle Obama's book. I loved it, and part of it was because she's got such a nice voice.
Yeah.
Part of it because it was a great story. But it's funny how some books seem to work both ways.
Yeah.
And who's reading it obviously makes a big difference.
It's also her story. It's not just
her story.
Voice. So.
Lots of people should not read their own books, though. The voice is crucial. You have to make sure if you're not up to the task, you have somebody else. I think we're all relieved to know that The Spare, which is going to be written by Prince Harry, he's going to do the voice. In The Spare.
It's actually hard to do the audiobook. I will say that, I've read my own work before.
Yeah,
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I've never read a whole book, but I have read a story. I read the story of the Best American Short Stories of the century. They had all the authors read their own books, their own stories rather, and it is a lot of work. So, what it's worth.
Well,
so, Deborah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know you don't want to talk about yourself, but just tell us a little bit about Thank You, Mr. Nixon, please.
Oh. Well, it does. It begins 50 years ago with the opening of China, and it goes right up to today. And it is a book that reflects on those years, on what has happened, to this country, to China, to the world. I mean, that moment when Richard Nixon went to China, I mean, we have evidence of it everywhere in every moment of our day. And so my book is really, an attempt to kind of start to grapple with that. And especially, of course, at this moment when, China, I don't know,
Yeah.
So it's, it's a time to look back in order to look forward. And it's a time to, I think to appreciate what it's meant in human terms. So, my book is, it's funny.
Okay, so Deborah, just because we don't want Gish Jen to be angry at us that we don't end with
Yes.
talking about the Boston Book Festival, what did we not learn in the last 15, 20 minutes that we need to know before tonight's kickoff?
Well, I think everyone just needs to know that it's a really, 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 really fun event.
Are you nervous, by the way?
Me?
Yeah,
No.
well, it's your deal. I mean, I know you have a lot of great
No, we have
coworkers.
200 authors showing
I
up
know,
and 200 volunteers. What could go wrong?
So you are, obviously. That's an indirect way to answer the question.
We have to say thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Really,
It's really exciting.
It is such an exciting
Huge
thing.
for Boston, too.
It's huge
Great.
for Boston, and it does really make us feel like this is our town. The bench here is so deep. There are so many writers. I mean, I came with my whole list of writers, all of whom I wanted to mention. Of course, I'm not going to be able to get to them. I can see.
Are you as excited about this as you sound? I mean, you sound like you're ready to explode over this thing.
I am. I mean, I think it just, why do we live in Boston? And I just feel like this is, it's also the leaves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also public radio.
And it's in Copley Square. What a beautiful place.
But really, I live here because it is the book town. And I love it that you can just conjure up all these people. And, people will come to these panels. Honestly, we all know each other. Like, I'm doing this panel with Ian Lee and Claire Massoud. We've known each other for decades, right? And it is an opportunity. The fact of the matter is that we talk to each other a lot, but most people don't know what we're talking about. This is an opportunity for them to kind of come, and it's as if they're at our dinner party. Like, what are we talking about? Right. And there's just a way, and I get to hear too. Like, what is Henrietta Lesritas and Marie Myung-Oh-Kee and Jennifer LaHaye? What are they talking about at dinner? And you get to hear all the dinners like in one day. It's fantastic.
And I just want to say that Gish and Leon Lee are the fiction keynote this year. So
together.
Right. Yeah,
and by the way, having you, Deb Reporter, and your PR person, Gish Jen, here was fabulous. You are really, if I ever do anything and want somebody to sell it, can I call you?
When you write your book,
exactly.
Call me up.
You're the first person I'm calling. Gish, it's great to see you again.
Agree.
And Deborah, congratulations. We're really excited.
Yeah,
about
thank
the
you
event.
very much. I hope it's a hugely successful weekend. And it's what more beautiful place could you be? Copley Square and this place, the
Amen.
Boston Public Library. Thank you very much for being here with us. We very much appreciate it.
Give the website one more time, please.
BostonBookFest.org.
Great.
BostonBookFest.org. Deborah Porter is founding director of the Boston Book Festival, and Gish Jen, headliner at the festival. Her latest book, as we mentioned before, is Thank You, Mr. Nixon's Bunch of Stories. Thank you very much for being here. Coming up,
Thanks for having us.
our Live Music Friday series continues with the incredible Black Bach, a man redefining and reinvigorating the world of classical piano when he's not busy serving as a musical director and pianist for pop icons like Rihanna and Demi Lovato and Justin Timberlake. He's running around with all the big stars, and he's going to be right here with us next at Boston Public Radio. You listen to that station, 89.7 GBH, Boston Public Radio, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Actor Michael Imperioli is best known for his role as Christopher Moltisanti in The Sopranos, but he's ready to build a new HBO legacy with a lead role in The White Lotus.
Look, it's very hard to work as an actor, period. And it's even harder to create a character that people remember you for.
Imperioli's return to the spotlight this afternoon on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering MedX Medicare supplement plans that include no referrals, worldwide travel coverage, and the ability to see any doctor that accepts Medicare. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And National Grid, providing access to electric heat pumps that can help businesses achieve their sustainability goals. You can learn more about heat pump technology at ngrid.com/future.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Talk about a live music Friday. Our next guest was deemed a prodigy at 8 years old, growing up in Detroit. And however many years since then, his career has taken him all around the world on tour as a pianist and music director, as Marjorie said, for the likes of Rihanna, Demi Lovato, Justin Timberlake, Cirque du Soleil. In his solo career, the neoclassical pianist Black Bach is hot off a performance last night at City Winery. His latest album, Black Book Deluxe, which I listened to last night, which is otherworldly great, is available on streaming, wherever you get your music. Black Bach, welcome to Boston Public Radio.
Thank you.
So we decided, because you were kind enough, you're going to play before we talk.
Yeah.
So tell us what you're going to play first.
I'm going to play a piece called The Hustle is Real.
The Hustle is Real,
Yeah.
Black Bach. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Can you,
okay,
great. He's
come
gonna
over
join
here
us.
and talk to us. That was
The Hustle is Real.
The Hustle is Real. So, Black Bach, you are doing what's called neoclassical. I can see you talk Black Bach, a lot of Bach there with the technique and everything like that, like almost like a fugue kind of thing going on. But it's neoclassical. So what does that mean?
That just means a newer version. I come from
a classical background from as a child, but also I played jazz, I played blues, I played pop music. I've toured playing all different genres. So this is kind of like just the sum of all of those things.
You ever play in a library before?
No, no. First
Pretty
time.
good, yeah. Isn't
First
it a good
time.
field?
Yeah.
So I learned reading about you that you were a prodigy at age 8. So did you have a piano in your house, or how could you start at age 8? Most people do not have a piano in their house.
Yeah, my parents bought an old piano for like $100, and my dad like spray painted it. It was just it was a beater, but it was enough to learn and take lessons and get proficient.
Yeah. You play by ear, don't you?
Yes, and I read as well. Well, I'm not a great reader because I am dyslexic, so it does take me a little bit of,
Yeah, so does
time.
that mean that you can hear something and sit down and play it?
Yeah.
Good for you. That is a great talent. That is an unusual talent.
So last night I spent most of my night, as I told you, listening to Black Box Deluxe. Is that your first CD?
It's my first one.
And tell people about it a little
Well,
bit.
Black Book Deluxe was written during the pandemic. It was 121 consecutive days. I woke up every day and worked on this project and wrote music for 121 days.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it was crazy. But it's just a reflection of the things that were happening at the time and where my life was and the things that I was experiencing and the things that were going on socially. And it just became this magical, book of, I call it like a book of poems.
But isn't there one thing that was happening earlier in your life? Is it called Cookie Waltz? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Tell us, I read about it. I heard it and then I read about it. Tell us what it's about.
So it's about my mother, and my mom would take the coffee table and she would pull it to the side and she would turn on like her, favorite Disney music, and we would just, she would just waltz us around on her feet. And I come to find out later that was kind of her way of coping. That was one of her coping mechanisms, was to waltz with her kids.
What did it mean to you as one of the kids?
Oh man, just my mom wants to dance with me. Like she wants to teach me this weird dance. Yeah.
So why Black Bach? Why the Bach?
Okay, so first is playing homage to Johann Sebastian, who is like the founding father of all of this, the disruptor of all disruptors. But as well, it's spelled B-O-K for me. My father always said, everything will be okay, but you got to be okay with everything. And to me, that really stuck out. And it was something that I definitely wanted to make a message to people as they hear my music. Like, everything will be okay.
Were your mom and dad musicians too? Or they bought the piano?
No, my mother's family are all entertainers. My grandfather has a note on the Walk of Fame in Memphis.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
For what? Tell us.
He was at the Peabody Hotel.
Oh, yeah, with the Ducks?
With the Ducks.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He was the house musician in the house band at the Peabody Hotel.
Wow.
He was an organ, and he was also a radio personality.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What are you looking at me for?
Well, I think some people would say we're radio personalities.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope so,
Some
sort
might.
of. But that's a big deal hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, right? Yeah.
So
wow.
you're going to play a couple more things for us. What's next up?
The next up is called Amalia's Ocean.
Amalia's Ocean. Listen to that last night too. Put the headset down gently if you can. You're going to hear Amalia's Ocean from Black Bach in just a couple of seconds. And I'll tell you, the CD is really great. I would check it out. Black Bach Deluxe. He is about to assume his position a second time.
To play Amalia's Ocean.
And here he is, Black Bach.
That was absolutely amazing. So in addition to doing these neoclassical covers, all these hugely successful, famous people, Cardi B, Lil Nas X, Jack Harlow, Lizzo, Kendrick Lamar, you've also, with music director with Rihanna, Demi Lovato, and toured with Justin Timberlake, John Mayer. Can you tell us a little inside story from maybe one of those experiences? Anything neat, anything exciting? What does it mean to tour with somebody anyway? I mean, tell us.
Yeah, it's just amazing being on the road to experience their journey and to contribute to this artist's journey and their vision and their story. For instance, Justin, to me, is one of the best performers, one of the best entertainers there is. He has this ability to control a stage like none other. And Rihanna's just a rock star. We all know that. And John Mayer, for me, was very much like returning to the garage and playing with, your friends. And, at any point in time, he may say anything or take any direction, but he's the ultimate musician. So being able to be on stage and share the stage with such legends has
And
been
how does it
awesome.
work? Jim and I have been lucky to go see Andres Nelson's conduct the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and there's this real
He's
connection.
with us Monday, by the way.
Yes, between him and the orchestra. You can just see it, watching it.
Mm-hmm.
That must be, it must be a lot of the connection between.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how's that work?
Yeah, it's a lot of nonverbal communication that happens. Like a lot of times I pride myself when I'm on tour is I always stare at the artist. I make sure that I follow every move. It's kind of the James Brown thing. Like if he went this way, you have to make sure you hit it or, he would take your money away.
Yeah. And how much rehearsing do you have to do before you actually go on tour?
On a tour, usually about a month and a half of rehearsals to put everything together. And it's really a step-by-step process. It's really cool, though, to see it all come together when it's finally on the stage and in front of people. It's such an experience.
And when you see 20, 30,000 people who are hanging on every single syllable that comes out of the mouth of Rihanna just put out her first song in years?
Yeah.
For Black Panther 2, I think, just came out the other day. What's that? How can you describe that for mere mortals who've never been on a stage for that moment?
It's the ultimate rush.
Yeah.
It's literally the ultimate rush. I mean, it's the sea of people, and then there's a certain when they all scream together, it's not just you don't just hear it. It's like a pressure. It's like something pushes against your body, and when you feel that, it just gives you all the adrenaline you need.
So what'd you do last night?
What I do last night?
At the winery.
At the
She
winery.
doesn't mean
Oh
what'd you
man,
do
it was such an
personally
amazing
last
show.
night.
It was such a good show last night at the winery. The crowd was so engaged. That's one of the things I love about playing music with no words is that everyone's able to have their own personal experience. Mm-hmm. Even after the show, one gentleman came up and he described what he saw and what he envisioned and experience he had. And to me, that's super awesome to be able to play music where people get to kind of like write their own narrative.
Well, we're writing our own narrative here. What are we going to write our third narrative about there?
This song is called Kendrick and Kareem.
Kendrick and Kareem. Great. Black Bach.
This has been incredible.
Great to
Thank
meet
you
you
so
and
much
great
for
to
coming
have
here.
you.
This is
Thanks
such a
so
great
much.
treat for us all.
Thank you so much.
We've been speaking and listening to the fabulous Black Bach. His latest album is Black Book Deluxe, and it is available now. Is there a website that we should know about too?
Blackbok.com, spelled BLKBOK.com.
We got it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, from the sublime
to
the ridiculous.
I was going to say the same thing.
We are going to open up the phone and text lines to get your thoughts on one of the burning issues this weekend, of course. That would be the best and worst Halloween candy. And state by state, what do we like best? I feel a little silly.
I'm embarrassed
Black Box
too,
is still
Margaret,
here.
They run the jails, conduct evictions, and enforce everything from gun laws to immigration to election security. We're talking about America's sheriffs. Most are elected by you, but a new study about their views just may surprise you. That's next time on The Takeaway from WNYC and PRX.
This afternoon at 2 here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you and Ocean State Job Lot, partnering with customers to help veterans in the Northeast by donating winter coats to those in need. More at oceanstatejoblot.com. That's oceanstatejoblot.com. And Mass General Cancer Center, dedicated to providing the latest therapies and cancer specialists who are experienced in your cancer. When you hear the word cancer, their team is ready. Learn more at massgeneral.org/cancer.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie, and live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Halloween's Monday, I think you knew that, which means there is still time to re-up your supply of candy for trick-or-treaters if you've finished it off already. Candy, I assume most people would agree, is arguably the best part of Halloween. For me, that means little tiny Milky Ways frozen is the key trick, but it can also be divisive. Allegiances run as deep, or for some, as disgust for others. Candy corn is a big divider, atrocious. We thought we'd open the phone and text lines for the remaining few minutes today and ask what candy is at the top of your list and what is at the bottom. Our number is 877-301-8970 is our number. And let me start with you, Marjorie. What would be your favorite and what would be your least favorite? By the way, you know what the most favorite, according to at least one poll I saw this morning in Massachusetts? Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, we've got some Sour
really?
Patch here, kids here. I don't get it. I don't get it for 1 second.
What's your number one?
Well, I like it. Peanut butter and chocolate. Reese's is pretty good. But let me tell you something. We were just joined by Stevie Nookie Postal. You know, he has the cafe down Newbury Street. A bunch of cafes all over the place.
Yeah.
And what's it called? The Riverside or something. Anyway, this candy.
I'll tell you eventually, but I'm not.
This candy corn thing. Well, you're going to bail him out.
I will, but not yet.
This candy corn little cake thing he's got.
Is it actually good?
It's great.
How do you feel about candy corn when it's not in a little cake?
Revival Cafe.
Yeah. How do you feel if it's not in a little cake?
I hate them.
Exactly.
But this is good in a little cake.
Can I nominate another thing for worst while you're thinking what your favorite is? How do you feel about circus peanuts?
Circus peanuts?
Yeah, Marjorie's eating with her mouth full. Do you know what a circus peanut is? Here is a circus peanut. It is a peanut. It looks like a peanut. It is often orange. And it has a lot of air inside and absolutely no taste except that of cardboard. How do you feel about circus peanuts?
Sounds terrible, Jim.
What's your favorite?
I told you, anything was like
Reese's kind of thing.
I also like Butterfingers.
You do?
Reese's peanut butter.
They have a little nut experience in there, don't they?
Well, the thing is, what you want to do is you want to buy your favorite candy for Halloween. And in the unlikely event there's some left over, And you can eat
point.
the Reese's, or I think I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Well, local people, which I am not, I just moved here 35 years ago, say Reese's. It's Reese's is how you pronounce it.
Reese's, whatever. They're really good.
That is what it is, yeah.
And Butterfingers are pretty good. What's your favorite, did you say?
A frozen little tiny Milky Way. It's got to be frozen like a brick, and then you take a bite out of it. It sort of melts a little bit from frozen to semi-frozen as the warmth of your lips touches the outside of the Milky Way.
So here's our questions
What
here.
is the question?
What is your favorite candy for Halloween? What are you giving the kids for Halloween? How much of your kids' candy do you set aside to eat yourself while they're gone to bed unsuspectingly? Did you mention Twix?
No, I have not mentioned Twix.
Yeah, I think that's another weird thing about Massachusetts. We like Twix here
That's
as well.
another popular one?
Yep, we have those here. We have the Twizzlers here.
We
Close
do.
to Twix.
877-301-8970. In addition to candy, by the way, if you want to weigh in on the eternal question that we always ask, when someone comes to your door who's 6'5" and has a voice deeper than mine, do you refuse to give them candy? What's your position on that issue?
Well, I've had that a few times where kids are clearly teenagers or they're very tall, young men, and I usually say, "Come on,
just get out of here."
Yeah, what are you doing? I mean, it's a little ridiculous. But mostly I get little kids. It's funny in at least in Brookline where I live, there are streets where everybody goes, and you can be spending hundreds of dollars on candy on those streets. There are certain streets. You know, it's a big street, the street where JFK was born, the original JFK house on Beale Street in Brookline.
Right off Harvard Street. Yeah.
Yes, for some reason that is a huge trick-or-treating street. There's another street nearer than me, so I don't get that many people on Halloween, but I get enough, and it's fun to watch little kids come out. And at least it's not the pandemic anymore where you have to worry about, giving them the candy from 3 feet away and all that crazy stuff. We'll be able to actually do it.
Can I add one little
this year.
factoid to this discussion? You know what I read 2 nights ago? And this sounds extreme, but I Googled it to make sure it was accurate. Do you know how when we were parents of young kids, all of our kids, we have 5, you have 3, I have 2, are in their late 20s or 30s.
Yep.
You had to be really careful as a parent to examine the food because it was either going to be poisoned or have needles in it. Remember that?
But that's not true.
There is not one child, according to what I read the other day, affirmed by some research I did, not one child who has died in the United States of America based upon a razor blade or poison that was in his or her Halloween candy.
We were all hysterical for years
get over
about
it.
that. Yeah. Here's a texter who says, "Bad Halloween candy? You must be kidding. It's all good. I ate half the bowl I have to give out." And that's one of the problems.
Do you remember when your kids were little, the most fun at all was the separating? Is every kid ever, they bring them all home, they dump them on the living room floor, and then they do the separation
and
thing?
they pick the ones that they like best. And they leave the ones that they don't like best. And I used to take some of the ones I like best, like the Butterfinger and the Reese's.
Let's take some calls.
877-301-8970. Bonnie from Salem, you are first on the Candy Hour.
Hello there, Bonnie. What's up?
Hey, guys. Happy Halloween from Salem, Mass.
And to you, too, of course.
Boy, hold on. Before we get to the candy, are you, afraid to come out of the house all weekend because it's so overrun in Salem by people that are, on the witch hunt kind of thing?
Well, I'm not afraid to leave, but it's challenging to get back in.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I bet. The traffic's really bad. Already?
750,000 visitors so far for Halloween season in Salem, I heard this morning, yeah.
Okay, so
but everyone's having a great time.
Good. So what's your favorite candy up there in Salem? And this matters because this is a woman who knows what she's talking about coming from Salem.
What is it? What's the answer, Bonnie?
Well, Jim, to your point, circus peanuts.
Oh.
You like them?
We grew up on circus peanuts, my cousins and I, and there was a tradition that if you got hit with one of the swings in the face or somebody, jumped off the swing or kicked you in the face, my mother would run out with a bag of circus peanuts just to make you feel better.
How would that make you feel better?
Because eating something sweet took the pain away.
Oh. But assuming you did not suffer some pain, you're just in a neutral situation and somebody handed you a circus peanut, what would you do?
Oh, my God, I would eat it.
Well, that's really sad to hear,
Plus the
Bonnie.
fact that they're really good if you put them in the freezer and then you take them out and eat them. So I'm a circus peanut fan all the way.
I guess to each his or her own.
Okay.
Bonnie, enjoy Halloween.
Did you try your
Happy
circus?
Salem.
Did you try your circus?
I'll try one in a minute. You've never eaten one before. What do you think of it? Bonnie,
oh,
thanks.
my God.
Horrible, right?
Horrible.
But let me just say, like Bonnie, if you ever get hit by a swing in the head, have one of your kids bring you a circus peanut to bail you out. Naomi in Marblehead, you're next on Boston Public Radio. What's the deal with you?
Yeah, I just wanted to call. I've got a 5-year-old who has a nut allergy on the topic of peanuts.
Oh,
He's got a tree nut allergy. We actually used to be your neighbor, and we would trick or treat at your house, Jim, sometimes. But
well, I hate to ask this next question. How'd that go at our door?
So far, so good. So far, so good.
Thank God.
That's
okay,
good.
so what's how do you deal with a kid who's got a peanut allergy?
So there's this thing called the Teal Pumpkin Project where kids can trick or treat with a teal-colored little sack, or you can decorate with a teal pumpkin at your house, and that indicates that you're giving away stuff that's allergy safe. So you can do like little creepy crawlers or little toys, stuff like that.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Naomi, I feel so bad.
Those are our favorites.
It's such a pain in the neck to have the peanut allergy. It's such a hassle, isn't it? I mean, you got to watch every second and worry about where the kid's going all the time and have the EpiPen. It's tough.
It is. It's heartbreaking watching them because the worst part is chocolate, right? Chocolate is really dangerous for them, and to have a 5-year-old who can't do birthday cakes or trick-or-treating stuff like that, having people who've thought about that and not having to take away candy out of his candy bag is really great.
I know
Naomi,
now that having little kids, like really young, one of the first foods they try to eat is peanut butter.
All right, they don't get it if they have...
Well, I don't know if that necessarily works, but I think it's one of the theories if you introduce it early. But I don't know if that's going to work.
I don't think we need to debate the health issues around peanut. Hey, Naomi, it's nice to talk to you again, and knock on the door anytime. Appreciate it. Jamie sent us a note. I'd rather die than eat a Necco wafer.
I'm with you. They're
Necco
disgusting.
wafers were made in my neighborhood, and the factory moved. It was on Main Street. The factory was on Main Street on the way to Kendall Square from Central Square in Cambridge. This is the truth. I don't know if you've ever had this experience. Could you look up, Jamie, how long ago the Necco factory moved out of Cambridge? You can still smell, depending on the wind, you could still smell the perfumey taste of a Necco wafer.
Yeah, they're horrible.
On certain nights when the wind goes by.
And one of our other staffers, Zoe, says, you guys remember Charleston Chews, nasty, unfrozen, but amazing frozen.
19 years ago, the factory left, and you can still smell the perfume in the air. Let's go to Gene in Arlington. We're trying to get a debate going around circus peanuts and candy corn. It's not going that well.
Did you try the circus peanut?
I've eaten 1,000 of them in my life. I don't need to try anything.
Why would you eat 1,000 of them?
Because they're there.
Okay.
That's why.
Gene
and they're free.
Gene in Arlington, thank you for calling.
Hey there, Gene. What's up?
Hello. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
We love that. Go ahead.
Sitting in my sewing room working on my 15-and-a-half-year-old daughter's Halloween costume.
Oh, what's she going as?
Princess Peach. The thing is this. She loves Halloween more than Christmas. I think she's way too old for this, but totally fine to let her go. She's a good kid. When older kids come to my door, if they're respectful and they say please and thank you, they can have all the candy they want. I love candy, so why should kids have to give that up?
Well,
you're nicer than I am,
Gene, you are a nice person, but Marjorie and I think we don't agree on that much. We do agree, 6'5", 240, with a deep voice, your time has passed. So maybe they should go to your door.
Well,
Gene,
they can give the candy out. They can help mom and dad. They can sit at the front steps and give the candy out.
Do you sit on your front step?
I sit on the stairs leading to my front steps so I can see if somebody's coming. Yeah, I bring my work down there and they sit in the steps.
Very nice.
Lee in North Andover, thank you for calling.
Hey, Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
I am calling because there were actually more witches accused from Andover than there were from Salem.
Is that true?
But Salem gets all the tourists. That is true. I am the minister at North Parish in North Andover when it was all one town.
Wow.
And the ministers here back in the 1690s were very involved in the whole hysteria.
So why has Andover gotten such little play on this front? I mean, we were talking to the mayor of Salem, who also is a lieutenant governor candidate on the Democratic side, about a week ago. It's a huge part of their economy, is this whole deal. You guys missed out. Why?
It is. Well, because the trials were done in Salem.
So
that's how it became known as the Salem witch trials. And, I guess nobody in town had the foresight to cash in on it before Salem.
Yeah, they do
grabbed the
have
spotlight.
that. They do a great job up there between the Peabody Essex, which had an exhibit about the witch trials and the clothing that they wore and all this kind of stuff, and all those other kind of more cheesy museums. But they're still fun to go to and check out the. Go ahead.
Lee, before you mention what candy you're really into, one of our colleagues, Zoe, just typed us a note. I'm sure you know this. 8th graders from North Andover led a push to clear the name of the last woman accused of witchcraft in Salem
neat.
this year. So that's pretty...
Did you know about that?
Yes, they did.
That's great.
Yes, they did.
So
we were going to talk about that just last week.
Was she hung or did she survive? Hanged.
No, she survived.
Good.
There were, I should know this, there were, I think, 3 people who were hung. There was one 80-year-old man who was killed by putting stones on his chest. Heavy stuff. Those were all from Andover.
That was horrible. I think wasn't he a minister or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, they crushed him to death.
Hey, Lee, can we get to the thing that really matters here? What's your favorite candy and what's your least favorite? Let's hear it.
Well, I would say Snickers because they have peanuts in them, so they are quote-unquote healthy. But I do hear the people calling about kids with allergies, and so you always have to have some dumb lollipops in with your Halloween candy because usually, I think kids with allergies can usually have lollipops.
Yeah, but Lee, can I tell you something? Have you ever met a kid in your life who wanted a lollipop?
Yes, I have.
Who would that be?
Including my own children, went through a phase when they loved lollipops.
I find that a little hard to believe, even coming from a minister.
Okay, Lee, I looked it up really quickly. Giles Corey was the guy accused of witchcraft and crushed to death by the sheriff. And with his dying words, he cursed the sheriff and the town, and many believe the curse was real, resulting in 300 years of ailing sheriffs and a fire in Salem. What do you think about that, Lee?
Well, the story about the guy who was crushed from Andover is that his last words were more weight.
More weight.
More weight.
Okay.
Pile on the stone. I'm suffering here, and I'm ready to go.
Lee, thank you for your call. How about candy corn quickly? Let's get your 2 cents on that. Let's hear it. What's up?
I'm not a candy corn person. My sister and my daughter are, so we always have a supply of candy corn in the house around Halloween.
You are a minister. Lee, thank you very much for your call. You know, by the way, I mentioned at the top of this segment that I really love a frozen, like Milky Way, because it begins to melt from the warmth of your lips. And Ralph from New Hampshire texted in and said, the warmth of your lips, Jim, ooh, baby, baby, is what he said. Thank you, Ralph, for your contribution to the show.
Yeah, I like it like that.
Right. That's the context in which I read that. That was
the context,
That
Jim?
was the quote horny a word I never use. The horny ghost, according to local news in wherever it was, Arizona, that came into someone's house when the person was taking a shower. Let's go to Susie in Bellingham. I'm not making it up. I'm just reporting it. Susan in Bellingham, what's your deal?
Oh, God, I can't stop laughing, Jim.
Well,
anyways, hi, Marjorie and Jim. I've called you a few times. Hello. I get very nervous when I go to talk to you guys, and I don't say the things I really want to say.
Yeah,
but,
we'll try to do a little better
anyways,
this time, Susie, if you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will. So I live in Bellingham, and we get no fewer than 100 kids.
Oh my God!
At Halloween, and our highest year was 160.
Wow.
And we give out baggies. We put in like 2 pieces of chocolate because they're so small, and then we put in like Swedish fish or Skittles.
I love
maybe some something little chewies and little hard candies. And for the little ones, Jim, the parents appreciate the dum-dums, like the little 3 and 4 year olds.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's like a variety pack
kind
kind of experience, right, Susie?
Yeah. They love our house. They go away running. This house gives out baggies.
Oh, that's really nice. So, Susie, what's your personal preference? You're very kind to the 160 kids. What do you like and not like?
Oh, you mean in kids or candy?
Whichever you choose. How about candy for today? We'll talk about kids another day.
Candy, I love Reese's. I've grown very fond of Reese's.
They're really great.
And how do you feel about candy corn and circus peanuts?
Circus peanuts are good if they're stale. Haven't had one in many, many years, but they gotta be stale.
Got it.
And candy corn gets very addicting if you start, but we don't keep either one in the house.
That was an excellent report from Bellingham, Susie. Thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it.
Texter says, my friend recommended giving out little bottles of nips for the parents, and I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Did you like taking your kids around, or you didn't?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. You know, they all went to the street and they saw their friends, and it was right near the school they went to. So it was and they had a big Halloween fair at the school where you dressed up. Yeah, and I remember my daughter one year said she wanted to be the Tooth Fairy, and I'm not a very creative person. And she said, "Tooth Fairy, how am I going to get a Tooth Fairy costume?" And one of the kids in Extended Day said to me, "Just buy a regular ballerina costume and sew a bunch of toothbrushes on it."
Did you?
So that's what I did. I
That's
sewed
actually
like
pretty
25
great.
toothbrushes on this little outfit, and she was the Tooth Fairy. I was very proud of
love
myself. Listen to this one from the texter. "You have to watch out for your candy this year. Millennials are hiding their student loan debt inside it." That's a good
Let's take one or two more quick ones. Peg and Groton, what's your deal?
Yeah, hi. First time caller. Hi.
Thank that. We love that. What's up?
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine years ago was getting hundreds of kids coming by because they only open like 4, 5 streets in Groton to trick-or-treaters. And so people would come from all the rural areas, and they'd come in, and there's a great police presence, and everybody feels safe. They close off the streets. But my friends were getting bankrupt with all the costs for the candy, so they put out a call. All of us came, and we would have a party. We would dress up, and then we would bring food and wine, and we would each take turns going to the door, and it was just so much fun because the adults had so much more fun than the kids because we were just howling with our costumes. One guy who was a Where's Waldo would go for the little kids.
Oh, gosh.
And some of us were more gruesome, and we would go for the adult kids. And we learned that the hard way when one of us went to the little kids and scared the crap out of them. So we realized we always had to send Waldo for the little kids, and the rest of us got to go with the big kids. But this happened for like 10 years running. We had a blast. I don't know how the kids were, but we were drinking and eating and running to the door and just had the best time every single year. Now, they moved away, and so we've been distraught ever since.
Sounds like I can understand
around this
why.
time.
Yeah, Peg, how come
missing that day.
How come it's only a couple of streets in Groton?
So they keep it safe and secure, right?
That's
Is that
the
it?
thinking? Is that the reason?
Exactly.
Oh, I love that idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of Groton is, spread out, everybody on their little 2-acre parcels
It's a
and
great
all
idea.
that crap. And so they said, and it happens every year, and it's just a lovely, wild, wonderful time.
That's good.
But we saved, we brought candy. We couldn't go through the door for the party unless we had 2 or 3 bags of candy with us. So we donated the candy to our friends, and about 20 of us.
It's a very moving story. Hey,
No,
Peg,
I like that.
We
Especially
love
having
your
been
call.
mugged
Thank
on
you.
Halloween. Never
We
got
gotta
over
go.
it.
You were mugged on
I told
Halloween?
you this story a million times.
When
I
were
was
you mugged on
with
Halloween?
A friend of mine when I was a little kid in Fall River. Yeah.
Mugged you?
Mugged. They knocked us over, stole our candy.
How old were you?
A band of ruffians.
How old
And
were
my
you?
friend had a costume on that was from above her head to down her knees.
Oh,
She
and
was
she
like
couldn't get up,
She was like
right?
a fly at the bottom of her with her arms and legs going, trying to get up. It was an American tragedy.
One
She
of
might
the
never
saddest
get over
stories
it.
I've ever heard of.
Okay, we are done for today, but thank you very much for people coming down to the Boston Public Library. It means a lot to us that you come down here. On Monday, we're going to be doing a debate on ballot question 1. That's the Fair Share Amendment, millionaire's tax, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to catch up. We'll take your questions on
That's
that as
huge.
well.
You can call in and ask debaters. Yeah.
We'll also catch up on Ukraine with the Ground Troop Project's Charlie Sennett. Travel writer for the Boston Globe, Christopher Muther. We'd love to talk to him. And the Reverends Ian Monroe and Emma Price will be with us. And special treat, Andres Nelson, who's the conductor for the Boston Symphony Orchestra. It's almost like talking to a living saint, talking to him. He's an otherworldly kind of guy. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Mackenzie Farkas. Additional support provided by Brendan Deedy, Gia Orsino, and Fernando Cervantes. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Special thanks to our team here at the BPL, Colin Cockrell and Evelyn Brito. And I want to tell people that you're not on TV tonight, but Callie's on Beat the Press. No, Basic Black at 7:30, and we have Open Studio with Jared Bowen at 8:30. And what do we have at 7 o'clock? We have Adam Riley doing politics.
Yes,
We
indeed.
have a big lineup tonight,
We do,
right?
Marjorie. That is correct.
Okay, Jim.
And the Boston Book Festival starts right here tonight.
That's right. Do you have anything more to say?
I had nothing to say before now, and I said it anyway.
Okay, then we are done.
I'm Jim Browdy.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Thanks
Bye.
again for tuning in. Hope you can tune in again on Monday. And meanwhile, have a great weekend.